Okay, I got the red smoke.
Gun runs north to south, west of the smoke, west of the smoke.
Okay, copy. West of the smoke. I'm looking at danger close now.
Come on with it, baby. Give it to me. I need it. You're cleared hot.
Copy, cleared hot.
Michael, would you like a good Vaughn story that he doesn't know I'm about to tell you?
Oh, hell yeah.
My father is missing a credit card.
That sounds about right.
If you lost a credit card and you thought you knew where it was last used, what would be your move?
If I thought I knew where it was last used?
Yeah.
I would look in that place where I thought I used it.
Would
Or
you
I
go there or
that
call
place.
him?
Call
Yeah,
him.
Call him, right? Why? Because
him.
time is valuable.
Yeah, I wouldn't drive down there. I'd call him.
Well, my dad took the latter approach. We have him on Life 360. Are you familiar with this?
Yes.
Okay. Today's episode is brought to you by Black Rifle Coffee. What do you say we head over to their website right now to see what they have to offer? BOGO, or buy one, get one free. Looks like the Liberty Roast, the Honor Roast, some mugs, a couple different versions of shirts. Actually, let's just shop now. Let's click the button and see what we have. We have a couple days remaining to do this even after this goes live. So a variety of roasts, a variety of vessels to drink it out of. Enhance. Hats, shirts, very cool. All right, so you can check that out on your own if you want to, blackriflecoffee.com. This bar right here goes all the way to the left as you're looking at it, to the lightest roast, being silencer smooth as the lightest roast. All the way to the right, the darkest, murdered out, and then Blackbeard's Delight is right there. Put it back in the middle. You can subscribe for a collection, or not subscribe. You can shop the summer collection right here, which has got a variety of patterns that are on there. Here we are, the coffee subscription, what you want delivered when you want. Shirt subscription, get delivered to your house the new breaking designs whenever you want. Sticker, same thing, but with stickers. And then the ECS, the exclusive coffee subscription. An example of that, this right here, the Secret Water Society Roast. I'm making this out at our lake house right now. It is delicious and delightful. Plus, the bag art is super cool. If you want to support me, do me a favor. Support the brands that have stood by me and helped me grow this thing for years. www.blackriflecoffee.com. Go check them out. Back to the show. He wasn't against it. We realized he doesn't bring his phone with him most places that he goes, which defeats the entire purpose of a cellular telephone. Several times in a row, he came over to the house. And it was actually my wife's idea because she was thinking out loud and realized we need to know where this fucker is because he's out there just doing geriatric shit, like unsupervised.
Just enjoying life.
Yeah, and I want him to enjoy life, but I also kind of need to know where he's at at this point. So we keep asking to put it on his phone, and he just never has it, ever. And
That sounds like my wife.
so she finally got it on his phone, took a look at the way he has his icons on his iPhone, because she was wondering why he's slow to get back from text sometimes. Well, you know the little apps you can keep in the bottom so you can always see?
Yeah, it's like your 4 main used ones.
He had 3. One of them was not text messaging. She found it 3 swipes over, so she moved that. There were a litany of unread text messages.
Oh, jeez.
But this morning, he just got back from a golfing trip that he's been doing for, I think, 50 years in Reno. She looks at his dot this morning, and it's at the airport. Because he's there trying to talk to people about finding his credit card. And nobody was there because he went in between the flight hours. And so nobody was up at the front desk. And his thing was, well, I'm looking for stuff to do anyway, so I might as well go over there. Like,
That's hilarious.
God damn it, man.
Yeah. I think our parents really start to amuse us at a certain age. My dad's almost 65, and he's getting there. Like
Mine is 78.
Yeah, so
and he is there.
Yeah, my dad's just teetering where it's like things are getting interesting. And the unfortunate side is like now it's all the health stuff.
Yep.
It's like now it's like, oh, there's cancer. Now there's this. He wants to get brain surgery. He wants to do all this stuff. And I'm like,
He wants to get brain surgery?
yeah. So he
Like exploratory, or is there something
exploratory. No, exploratory. And the reason being,
What are we talking like? What does Musk call his thing? Not Starlink is the internet.
Neuralink.
Neuralink, yeah.
So my dad was for 63 years, 62 years under the belief that he had cerebral palsy when he was born because his hands have tremors. So his hands shake.
Did he ever run that by a medical
He
professional?
did. And people always said that, yeah, it's because of the umbilical cord wrapped around your throat and the womb.
Oh, like lack of oxygen. And
Yep.
Okay.
And have developed a minor form of cerebral palsy where it's not like you're wheelchair bound, but his hands shake almost like he has like Alzheimer's or tremors or whatnot.
Did the doctors concur with his personal assessment?
So he went to a recent neurologist like a year ago, and they were like, no, you have like chronic tremors. They're like, you don't have cerebral palsy, which is treatable. And they're like, there's a brain surgery that you can get where essentially what they do is they drill like an inch into your brain. They put a little probe in there, and it's a 1.5 minute surgery. Super fast. They just drill into it, put that probe and stitch it up. And then they put a pacemaker in your heart, and that pacemaker interacts with that device. And then when they turn it on full blast, and it makes one side of your body just go completely limp. And then they tone it back to your settings of your body. So what it does is when his hands are shaking, it'll immediately eliminate all shakes. And he's just at that point in his life now where he's like, I've dealt with it my whole life. I'm embarrassed that I walk around and like can't shake hands with people because my hands shake. Or if I pick up a drink, I just get embarrassed. And, I've always told him, I'm like, you need to stop worrying so much about that stuff. Because like everybody loves you, like in your family and circle, and people on the street or whoever don't care are going to judge you. But if that's more of an internal psychology behind it, then you should get the surgery. And so he's looking at getting that done. Isn't
it amazing how much our own insecurities can get in our way? And the vast majority of people would never see the things that you're the most insecure about. Like it would be, if they noticed it, it would be passing at best. It's zero judgment.
Yeah.
But behind the curtain, that person is just, it's all they can think about. It sucks, man. And those handcuffs you put on yourself too.
Yeah. And it's like he has the best intentions with it. It's almost like, so I recently got married, and my wife, he obviously wanted to come to the wedding and like get to know her family. And he was like, I just don't want to, be eating or see people like my hands shake and all that, or your mom having to help me eat and whatnot. And I was like, no one who's there is going to judge you whatsoever. But it's that stuff where I'm like, he has such a big heart. And a part of me is like, if he wants to get surgery and it makes him better, then sure. And I've talked to people that have had the surgery, and they swear it's like a night and day difference. But the reality is like he just got diagnosed with prostate cancer, but it's stage 1. So he got very lucky, caught it early.
It's coming for all men if you give it enough time.
For sure. And so he's going to go get that surgery, I think, in 2 weeks. They're just going to remove his prostate entirely. And then he gets the brain surgery like 3 weeks after that. So he's just trying to get it all done at once and then be done with it. So
when you were describing that brain surgery, the only thing I could think about was the iterations they must have done leading up to this being successful.
Oh, right.
What did that look like?
Leaving people disabled, maybe?
I mean, how do they know exactly where to drill that hole? Did they just pumpkin somebody else's head and drill in different spots in an attempt to reduce the shakes? They forgot high school?
That'd be my guess. It'd be something crazy. I'm going to move my phone.
Oh, yeah. I also wonder if they get those drill bits from Home Depot.
Right? It's not like it's just got so many grooves on it that it just tears out flesh. I can't imagine. I mean, they're small.
Awake for that surgery?
You are. They put your head in a cage.
Every aspect of that.
So they lock your head in a cage. So it's essentially like there's a little bar that goes on your chin. You rest your chin up against it.
Oh, of course, Michael is on it.
I forget what the yeah. So that's what it is. It's DPS.
Head right there.
Yeah, so they put your head in this
oh, that's
vice.
a straight DeWalt. That's the 110 DeWalt. No big deal.
Yeah, as long as it's not Ryobi.
Dude, I could knock that out for him right now. There's a Home Depot down the road.
And this is what it does, which is really interesting.
Okay, so there's the shakes.
Yep. And my dad's not that bad.
And this is that inner. Whoa.
Look at it. It just goes away.
Yeah, you're telling me that wouldn't be 100% life changing? It
right?
Absolutely would be.
I haven't watched this video, but I've just talked to people that have had the surgery, and they've just said it like changed their life.
I am really glad there are people out there smarter than me.
Right.
And for clarity, almost every human being is.
Yep.
So I am benefiting from them doing things I would never think of doing.
Yeah. It's I can't imagine. And like for me, knowing that you're awake and your head's in a cage and they want to keep track of your eye movement, they want to make sure you're awake, obviously. But someone who talked to me who got it done said it's not so much, you don't really have anxiety like sitting in there. It's the sound and the vibration of your skull.
I am not interested in hearing them Oh, and the dog's like, oops, that was turning counterclockwise. My bad.
Wrong drill bit. Too big.
Yeah. Give me the drywall one.
Yeah. So I'm like,
No, I don't want to. You would feel, can you imagine the rattling, literally the rattling in your skull?
I've had some stuff, but just to hear that vibration like in the back of your head, and then you can smell it. So you go through a minute of that, and then.
That's a long minute.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Then you know, though, that they're poking around inside of your brain.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't know. I mean, he's going to like a really good doctor, and I'm sure there's like.
One would hope so.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, yeah, don't go down to like Mexico and get this surgery. This is not your teeth. Like,
I don't
that's
even
messing
know.
with your brain.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Mexico's not a great place for your teeth either. I'm not sure.
A lot of them apparently are trained in the U.S. Because I remember growing up, so I grew up in the high desert of California, like right outside. We joke around, we call it 29 Stumps, like the Marine Corps base, 29 Palms.
Yeah.
So I grew up in the town over near Joshua Tree.
Yeah.
And
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, just by Palm Springs.
Yep. And I remember growing up, people that had to get like root canals or like implants, bigger surgeries that would cost thousands of dollars, would go down south of Arizona, across the border down there.
Yeah.
And would go, and it's literally, you cross the border and it's almost like this random neighborhood with like built up like hospitals, eye doctors, ear doctors, dentists.
60% off probably cost wise.
Yep. And they're all trained in the U.S.
Yeah.
So they go to school in the U.S. They go right back across the border, make more money down there, but it saves American people a lot more money to go down there and get it done.
Man, your dad is going to have an interesting month.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I'm glad that we got the wedding over with, and now he can kind of just be at home and focus on getting that done. So
Did you guys go big wedding or small?
we did medium. We had 105 people there.
I'm going to call that big.
Yeah.
I've been married twice. Once was at
Okay.
the courthouse, and once, Michael, you were there. How many people would you guess were there? I honestly forget the guest list. I think it was approaching 200.
Yeah, it was
That's a big wedding.
pretty big.
I felt so too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a cost difference between the courthouse and that one, if I'm being honest.
So funny enough, we got married in Texas. It's center. So our wedding, I should say, on my side was just my mom and dad. Very small family, very disconnected family. Just from like my grandmother, when she passed away, you kind of have cousins, aunts, uncles, and all that just naturally drift because the grandmother was the one that kind of kept all the family vacations together and whatnot. And we all still communicate, but it was just one of those weddings where I was like, it's just gonna be my mom and my dad. And Bella's family is like 70, 80 people. So hers took up the majority, and then the rest was just like friends and like our wedding party. But we got married in Texas, and when we went to get our marriage certificate, I called the courthouse or like the county clerk's office like a week prior, and they were like, yeah, come in on Wednesday because it has to be 72 hours you have to wait to get married after you pick up the certificate. Ours was 78 hours right after. So I was like, all right, cool. We have 5 hours. That's plenty of time. We had to fly into Austin, drive 2.5 hours north where we were getting married on a ranch. I went to the nearest county clerk's office in Goldthwaite, Texas, and they're closed. And there's a police officer walking down the stairs, and he's like, oh yeah, they're closed. And I was like, oh, they can't be closed. I was like, we get married in like 3 days. And like they told me to come here this day. And they're like, oh, they're doing like some, what are they doing? Some public thing where they're out of the office, like doing a field trip or something. And so he's like, you're gonna have to drive another hour to the next county. So we drove another hour up north, just made the window where they were closing within an hour. And like, fortunately I got our certificate.
That could have been an interesting trip.
Oh yeah. Well, cause we would have still gotten married, but it would have been a celebration in Texas and then go back home to where we live now in South Carolina and just legally get married there.
My wife is from an Italian family.
Same with mine.
When we were planning the wedding, she asked me, who do you want up there standing with you? And I said, can it just be me? Originally, she said, sure. Mm-hmm. She had 13 bridesmaids.
Holy cow.
She threatened to put half on my side. So that's why.
That would have been a hilarious wedding. Those photos would have been awesome.
I said, can it just be me on my side and all of it can be on your side?
Yeah.
And people can draw their own conclusions. Because I think the photos would have been dope.
Maybe they thought you were like marrying all of them.
It would have been a challenge, right? The rule of thirds would have been a tough one there for the photographer.
I would have hated that job.
And when she threatened to bring half of her bridesmaids onto my side, that's when my plan changed.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll start inviting some peeps.
Is that Is that like kind of like a bruise on your ego a little bit too? For me, it would be, where it's like, what? Are you going to bring your girls on my side? Nah, I'm going to go higher, guys.
You know what it was? It was she wanted the pictures to be balanced. That's literally what it was.
Fair enough.
And I also think she was fucking with me a little bit.
Yeah, it could be.
I was just trying to take the path of least resistance. We can keep this simple.
She
had been a bridesmaid like 6 or 7 times.
Yep.
And this was her chance to get him back. Like, now it's my turn.
I like your wife's thinking. That sounds like a fun wife.
She's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had a moment of
I get it though. My wife is Italian and Polish.
Big families.
Big families. All from New York.
That is where my wife is from too, upstate New York.
Yeah. So my father-in-law grew up in Buffalo.
Okay.
They now live in Erie in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
But some of her family is still up there in Buffalo, and a lot of people came from Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, New York, all came down to our wedding and were just like blown away. Like, never stepped foot on a ranch, never seen cowboys. And it was one of those weddings where, you know, anybody who listens who's from Texas, you know, we do it in the middle of May, and everyone's like, that's the rainiest season of the year in Texas. We check the weather every day. It's perfectly fine. I think it was like 90 degrees was going to be the high that day, and it was going to go down to like 84, 85 by the time we got married. And half hour before we get married, lightning storm. Like, lightning strikes the tree above. We had an old chuck wagon set up. So like on some of these ranches I go out to, there's very few that are still very traditional, where they hire like a chuck wagon, and it's called like working on a wagon. And so you have a cook that comes out and cooks for the cowboys for like a week or 2 straight, and they rotate that wagon to different pastures. So they had I think we had just this really cool chuck wagon set up. The lightning struck right above that wagon in a tree, and we had to delay the ceremony for like 30 minutes. And I'm sitting in the main house because it's this old stone like ranch home, and Bella's next door in the guest room. And my groomsmen are like, "You all right?" And I'm like, "I'm stressed." I was like, "How's Bella?" And they're like, "She's fine. She took her dress off and she's in her PJs and she's having fun." And the girls are just like laughing. And I was like, "Well, now I know that she's okay, I'll be all right." But sure enough, like 30 minutes go by, the lightning lifts, all my guys run down, flip the chairs back over, drive everything off, and it worked out. But man, the weddings it's tough when you have to plan your own too.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have a wedding planner. We wanted to like bootstrap it, spend as little as possible.
Yeah.
And it's fun when you get to do it how you want it, but you realize that you're putting on a wedding and a show for everybody else.
Yeah.
And you still enjoy it, but it's still, I guess, stressful with all the stuff and planning you have to be put into it.
It's a balance between being about the people up there getting married and then also everybody else.
Yep. Yeah.
So, yeah. I'm not doing it again.
No, I'm not either.
Yeah.
So hopefully, God has blessed me with one woman, and I'll stay with her. We'll work through whatever we can.
I think it's an easier plan.
Yeah, I think so.
I remember what I was going to ask you. I don't meet many people who've been attacked by bears, and I really would like to hear this story.
Okay. I have to leave out some details, though.
Why?
Because I'm trying to think of how I can talk about this topic without Fish and Game getting pissed off.
I mean, were you running around in like a bacon wrapped suit?
No, but it's okay. I'll say this. I'll leave the ranch name out of it.
Okay. What state was it in?
It was in Montana.
Yeah.
It was here. And it was in the Bighorn Mountain Range.
Okay.
So what happens up here in these northern states, Wyoming, Montana, is there's a lot of times where cowboys will rope bears.
What?
On horseback.
Is that to relocate them?
Relocate them, move them away from calves. They don't hurt them whatsoever.
How does the bear respond to being roped?
So usually what happens is like when you're roping a calf, and I'm sure you've seen it, like you rope their back legs and you kind of keep them pinned down for a second. And then it's called loosening your dally, but you can loosen your dally on your rope, which is essentially just this little thing that's cinched down that loosens up, and any animal can just kick it off their back foot and run away, and they're harm-free. Nothing happens to them. So I think I was working this one pasture, and I was drawing these calves out of this canyon, and I look across the canyon and I see like 3 cowboys saying, "Hey bear," and they're chasing them on horseback. And he's a pretty big cinnamon bear. And like for those of you who don't know, it's like a black bear species, but it's got this
color
like
phase,
red color phase. Yeah. But they're almost, I would argue like they're bigger than a California black bear. Like this one was pretty big.
Yeah, the blacks up here, well, depending on their food source, they can get pretty big. I've seen some ones that are definitely a little in a caloric deficit, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he was pretty big. So essentially what happened is they roped him on his back leg because they had calves coming down there, and they could see that the calves, he was kind of like going after them. And so they kept him in this ravine. I went down there, and I had my camera at the time, and I was taking photos of the calves coming out, and I didn't really know where the bear went. And so what happened was when they had him pinned down, I put my stuff away and went down there to kind of like help push those calves along, get everything out so we could let that bear go. And essentially what happened was one of the younger cowboys who was on horseback who roped him, it's just a funny thing. He had a new rope, so he's like, I don't want to cut my rope. And I was like, well, undally it. Like, if you loosen your rope, he'll get it kicked out. He kept doing it, but the bear, every time he would try and kick it off, it was just caught up in his claws. So he wasn't able to get it off his back foot. So at this point, I like get down, I'm on the ground, and the bear is kind of like pinned down in this brush. So he's like hiding, facing away from me. And I was like, look, we're going to have to get this rope off his back leg. And me, I'm just a quick person to just react and not really think things through very well. So I was just like, let's put the 4 horses in a line, and I'm just going to grab the rope off his back foot. And so when he turns around, he'll see the horses. He's probably already startled. He's going to want to run off. So essentially, we put the horses around me. I grabbed his back paw, pulled the rope off, and he just attacked me right there. And so, but it happened so fast. It was a matter of like, I'm not even joking. It was probably 2 seconds. Like, all I heard was him growl, get up on his hind legs. And then I felt what almost felt like a horse kicking me in the shoulder. And then I fell down. And when I fell down, I fell kind of on my stomach, and my hat came off my head. And in my mind, I was thinking like, you know, when you're in that position, you're thinking like the Revenant. You're thinking like, I know what bears do when you're face down. He's going to start ripping on my back. So I just covered the back of my head. And sure enough, I felt his weight and momentum just barrel over me. And the cowboys were like hollering and like chased him off. And then he ran off and he was fine. But the reason why I kept kind of the details out of that was because I didn't want to get crossed up with me being the one that roped the bear, because I didn't. I was just thinking in that moment, like,
Is that kind of a no-no?
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, some people would argue maybe it's inhumane, but but up here in these northern states, like, they do it quite a bit to where they don't mean to harm animals or anything like that. It's just trying to keep them away from livestock or relocate them to a different area.
If they get into the livestock, your choices are going to be far more limited anyway.
Which they did, and so when we were working those calves, there was a calf that was killed a day or two prior by a bear. So they were thinking like in that same general location where they're at, they just didn't want to take any chances of losing any more livestock. And so, you know, these ranches up here respect the bears where they're not killing them. You know, they go the proper means of getting a bear tag if they want to hunt them. I was just a photographer in that moment working on that ranch that was just happened to be the one that got down on the ground and was like, we got to free this bear. Like,
did it kick you? Is that what you felt?
No. So what happened was he swiped me. So it happened so fast. I got up like laughing because I didn't really know what happened. I was like, that was wild. And the second I started feeling like this heat in my arm, I looked down and there was blood like pouring out of my armpit. And I unbuttoned my shirt, actually the same shirt, but that company sent me a new one. This
Very
like,
kind of them.
Same exact one. It's funny enough. And yeah, it's like a Schaefer outfitter shirt, but I unbuttoned it, had one of the cowboys look into like my armpit, and he was like, it doesn't look like too bad, but you got 4 like puncture wounds. And there was an older cowboy there that was like, I was trying to fight through and just say, you know, we got a couple more hours of work. I'll go back to the ranch. I'll disinfect it and figure out what I got to do and maybe stitch it up myself. And he was like, I would probably go to an urgent care hospital because their claws have a lot of bacteria.
Oh, for sure.
And that close to your heart. He's like, I wouldn't play around with that. So what happened was, making this a long story, but I drove myself back to the ranch where the headquarters was, where my car rental was, or my rental car. And then I had to drive that car 2 hours to the nearest hospital. So it was probably almost a 3-hour drive in total. And I just kept my arm pinned to my side to kind of stop the bleeding. And when I got to the hospital, it's like right outside of like a Native American reservation. And the whole office, I've never seen like a hospital lobby just empty. Like no one's in there. There's probably like 3-4 o'clock at night or late afternoon. And, you know, I sit down in the chair, I check myself in, and the lady's like, all right, just take a seat in the lobby and like, we'll get to you when we can. And I was like, well, no offense, but like you've got blood running down your chair and all over your floor.
Yeah.
And she like looks down at me and looks up at my face and looks down again. And she's like, then she looks at her computer and she's like, oh yeah, I did just enter that you were attacked by a bear. And I was like, yeah, so I probably need to get someone to come see me. And so she's like, hold on. So she like hits a buzzer or something and nurses come right away. They bring me back. They take a look at it, and essentially they were just going to stitch it up initially after they gave me a saline wash. And then the main nurse who was there was like, I'm going to do some chest x-rays and just take a look and make sure your vital organs are fine. So she does x-rays, and I'm like in there kind of laughing with the nurses and whatnot. And she comes back in and she was like, I wouldn't be laughing if I was you. And I was like, well, why? Am I good? Like, I'm thinking I'm going to be here for like 48 hours doing surgery or something.
Yeah.
And she's like, the main tear was an inch away from your axillary. And I was like, what does that mean? And she was like, you would have bled out in like 5 to 10 minutes. And I was like, really? So she's like, good news. Like, we're doing 14 stitches today. We're going to finish washing it some more, give you stitches. You're good to go. And then I had to drive another 6 hours to another ranch that night to work the next day. And so bringing it back to what happened is when I was on that 6 hour drive, I called one of the cowboys and I was like, what did you see from your perspective? And he was like, man, the second you pulled the rope off, he got up on his hind legs and he swiped once for your face and missed you. And then he swiped again, and that's what connected you. And then as you were falling backwards, he jumped over you and tried to bite your face and took your hat off your head. And I was like, that was all in a matter of like 3 seconds. He was like, yeah, it was pretty wild. So essentially it was, it's a funny story. And I remember like calling my fiance at the time, like, hey, don't freak out. And she was like, what is it now? And this is like 8 months, before we get married. And, she's like, I told her, I was like, I was attacked by a bear. And she was like, how? Like, what were you guys doing with bears? And I was like, the Cowboys roped one out. They were just trying to keep him away from the calves for a minute. And essentially this is what happened. And she was like, well, did he get your face? And I was like, no. And I was like, why, would you not be with me anymore? And she was like, no, I would still marry you, but like, you're already ugly enough as it is. I want to make sure that your face is all right.
She sounds awesome.
Yeah. So it's been the funny story now where I go home and a lot of people have wanted to hear this story, or they've wanted to ask about the bear, and Bella just rolls her eyes. She's like, oh, great. Here we go. Here's the bear story again.
So were you working on the ranch moving the cows, or were you out there working as a photographer?
I was working as a photographer. Yeah. So I wasn't on their payroll or anything like that. I was just invited to come out and take photos. And so essentially that's why I want to keep them private, is just the mutual respect I have for that ranch.
For sure.
I don't want to turn them into a liability or hurt that relationship. But it's one of those things where, you got to be careful out there with what you're doing. And obviously I was not clearly thinking. The only thing that was going through my head was like, I just want to get this bear free. Like, I don't want to ditch the rope and him get caught up in a barbed wire fence.
Yeah.
Or, something else happen. If I'm already here, I'm just thinking all I got to do is just pull the rope off.
Hindsight, what would you do now?
Cut the rope, because I know eventually he'll get it off.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the funny thing that I told. That cowboy, I think he was probably 19, 20, just a young guy and like a good hand, and all that. And it's just a funny thing. Like, no cowboy wants to lose a rope, especially if you just bought it.
That's one of the main tools. Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of your main tools, and you still got a whole day of work you got to do. So it was just one of those wild stories that it kind of spread to all the ranches up here. And I was like, when I went to that next ranch, they just roped a bear like the morning that I was there, and I had no idea. And I was like, is this a normal thing? And they're like, yeah, we kind of all do it for fun and like whatnot, but no one gets off their horse and takes a rope off and then gets attacked. They're like, that's wild. And they're like, respect, but also stupid. And I was like, I agree.
Stay on your horse, fucker.
Yeah. And so it was just this funny thing now that it's like, hey, Beau, that Western cowboy photographer, yeah, he was attacked by a bear working on a ranch. And so I look at it like that's my dedication to this lifestyle. So I've been attacked by a bear all for it.
Okay. What do the ranches do with the photos? Do they keep them just for their own legacy?
Yeah, I think so. The agreement that I have with most ranches is, because right now I'm working on my second book, and I've been working on it for about 8 years. The agreement that I have is that I pay my full way to get out to the ranch, which airfare, travel costs a couple grand. They don't pay me. I don't pay them. I get to work on horseback with them. And usually when I go out to a ranch, it's mostly for like branding work or whatnot. So I'll take photos, and then they'll keep them for just historical purposes or use them how they want. Mm-hmm. And then I'll use the images to, highlight their story. If it's portraits of people that I take, I'll post them on social media and kind of tell their story and honor their family and whatnot. and then or it goes in books or we turn them into artworks. And so the artworks is what obviously keeps my lights on. For how much money I put into documenting this lifestyle, it's, you got to make some money back.
Yeah, for sure.
So we'll sell prints through like art galleries. We'll do like museum shows and all that. So it's a fun gig where I feel fortunate that, this cowboy industry is a very private community, and it takes a lot of trust to kind of be welcomed into it. And then, not just go one time as a photographer and say you did your job, but to be welcomed back over and over again and get to know, their families and work on horseback and be trusted with their animals. Like it's a big ask for them, but I'm fortunate that they allow me to do it.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So you said you're working on your second book. So the one sitting between us, the 20-Year War, is this your first one?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Do you have a website associated with this?
Yeah. So just
because we can, Michael can pull it up, and then that way viewers can see images as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Love that. So it's 20yearwar.com. You can either spell it 20, or you can just do 20 spelled out. So this started with my childhood best friend who I've known since I was 5. His name's Dan Blakely. We grew up right next door. Yeah, that's the website there. So we just have it sold through, we handle everything. So obviously we got it published, and then we kind of took over all the rights and everything of the book.
Do you have any example images, or is this, scroll down, Michael?
Yeah, if you scroll down, it has some of the portraits, has kind of what the book is about. So essentially for people looking at it, it's 71
you
veterans.
got Coalition Asset in there?
Yeah, we got old Tim in there. But it's funny because when we went into this, we understood that, you have a lot of the lack of a better term, like the influencer veteran community, and like the vetfluencer. Did
not create that term. I've heard it.
Yeah.
Look at the jawline on that.
I know,
man.
Nate, man. I don't think his jawline has ever gone away.
Cut glass with that thing.
So that's Dan in the middle there, and then Tom was the one who helped me write the book. So both 275 Rangers.
Okay, but you knew Dan since very young age.
Dan I've known since I was 5. We grew up next door to each other, and during COVID in 2020, I was still living in California. Was just kind of tired of like the political stuff that was going on in that state, and just everything, the divide, everything happening with COVID. So I was 30 years old, and I was like, I kind of want to experience something else. So Dan and his wife are living in North Carolina. I moved and spent probably 2-3 months living in my car and traveled like 30 different states.
During COVID?
Yep.
What an amazing time to do that.
It was great. I came up here to Glacier. I camped out, showered in, what's the main lake there called right up there? McDonald. I was showering in that every morning and cooking dinner on my campfire. And
I don't know if you're supposed to bathe in Lake McDonald.
I don't know if you are.
I feel like the statute of limitations, if there is one, is expired.
There's another thing people are coming after me for. But after this is done, Montana, the state, is going to hate me.
No, they're already really pissed at Taylor Sheridan. Who they really should be pissed at, though, is Brad Pitt.
Oh.
They forget the old river runs through it.
That's right.
And that's all set in Montana.
Yeah.
Fly fishing, epic scenery.
Yep.
Let's just be honest, the most beautiful man alive.
That's true.
He's 60, still a banger.
But yeah, didn't he do some recent, I only know this as a photographer, but he did some recent photo shoot where you're like, that dude's 60?
And it was somewhere.
GQ?
Yes. Where was that, though?
It was in a different country.
I cannot believe I'm about to ask you this, Michael, but can you Google where the Brad Pitt
Michael, don't get excited over there.
Yeah,
Let me look it up.
Rock hard right now.
You're aware.
Stay seated, Michael.
It's.
I want to say it was in Norway, but that's not right. It might have been in Iceland.
It might be Iceland.
I feel like
somewhere up there in that Nordic region.
It says New Zealand.
New Zealand.
That's
way
100% correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Iceland, right next door.
Man, some of those pictures are awesome, but I also think that a lot of that is a blend. I mean, whatever. You can hard to probably take a bad photograph of Mr. Pitt, but there is some artistry in a high-end photography.
There's we'll get into it, but that's my background. It's fashion photography, and it's harder than most people think to get all that stuff right, and to stage actors and actresses and celebrities that just don't want a camera in their face all the time. To get them in that right mental headspace is very difficult.
Isn't that part of their job, though?
Yeah, but I think it's just because they're in the spotlight so much. It's they almost get annoyed of it, which to me is so kind of it's interesting.
I'm not a huge connoisseur. I'm aware that he did a photo shoot because somebody cropped it and put it somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I looked at the picture; it was black and white. it was a pretty rugged, stark image. Like, God damn, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Plus, New Zealand is one of the, if not the most beautiful place I've ever
It's
been.
where my wife and I want to take our honeymoon.
Dude,
We're thinking of the South Island.
that's where I went for
Yep.
2 weeks.
Really?
Unbelievable. Switzerland, pretty good. I was like, they're up there. They're competing.
Yeah.
But so I'm not a connoisseur of that type of photography. I don't read fashion magazines. I'm aware they exist.
Yep.
I'll see the images from time to time. They put them in the most ridiculous clothing, in the most ridiculous poses.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I could actually kind of see how they would get a little tired of that. There's one thing going to an acting job and, hey, you got a huge paycheck, hopefully, and you're going to portray this person so you'll be in period
Sure.
specific, whatever it is.
Yep.
There's another one where it's like, hey, you're going to wear this clown outfit with a thong on the outside of your
Yeah.
pants and do a handstand.
But people will eat it up. And I think
Will they, though? How do you know?
Some people do. I mean, so I guess going back, the state of Montana, I think it's when I come up here is I treat it like I'm just a traditional man. So like I like fishing, I like hunting. Yep. So I come up here and try and go on like bow hunting trips, or we go fishing, or work on ranches. And so it's funny. So going back, I traveled and did that for about 3 months all over the U.S. And then when I moved in with Dan, I was already kind of like year 3 or 4 into working on this Western photo book. And
is that going to end up being your second book?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's one coming up. So Dan and I, we were sitting in his living room, just having beers, probably 2, 3 in the morning. And
where all great ideas are formed.
Exactly. And he's like, what if we did a coffee table book on like veterans from GWAT? Because the 20th anniversary of 9/11 is coming up in a year. Mm-hmm. At the time, like 8 months. And I was like, that kind of sounds cool. Like, I'm interested. Like, tell me more. And I've always loved the military and appreciate it because of Dan. And so when it came to it, him and I kind of started like working on the outline of what this book was going to be. And we're like, we have to call it the 20-year war. Like, it only makes sense to do that.
Especially were you guys in the ideation trying to have it out by the 20th anniversary?
Yes.
Oh, daddy.
Yeah. And the crazy thing about it is that, so we went through a few different publishers, and they basically were like, there's no way you're going to get this book done in time. It takes years usually to like work out a contract.
Year and a half minimum.
Year and a half minimum, up to 3 years, sometimes more. And they're like, there's no way you're going to get this thing done and turned in within 4 or 5 months, because we need the rough draft. We need everything finalized and sent to our team to get it into print in like 4 or 5 months. So we went to Ballast Books. And at the time, it was like the publisher that we knew through a mutual veteran that I think, is it Eddie Gallagher? Mm-hmm. So he did his book through them. Okay. And so we got in touch with Ballast Books, and they were a little hesitant on it. They've never really done like a photo-heavy coffee table book before. They do a lot of nonfiction type stuff.
A little bit out of their wheelhouse for sure.
Yep. And so when we got on the phone call with them, we knew we were going to bring on Tom to help write it. And we basically were like, hey, we're working with like Rangers. Like, if anyone's going to get it done, they're going to get it done. We're going to figure out how to make this work. So Dan was like, Beau, I'm going to work out all logistics of people we can connect with as far as veterans from all 4 branches. Like, it's not just going to be, a special operations heavy book. We need to get a little bit of everybody in it. So what it turned into is me being on the road for a whole month. Again, after I just got to his house and moved in from being on the road for 3 months, I got a month to hang out with him and then go back on the road. And him and I were on the phone just basically being like, hey, are you in Chicago? Cool. You're going to do this person. Now where are you going next? And I was like, now I'm going down south. Cool. I'm going to line up these 3 people. So it was just this like chaotic craziness of lining up 71 people. And initially we had 70 people, but we got in touch with Jack Tilley, who was the 71st person, one of the last people I photographed. And the reason being is because he was in the Pentagon when the plane hit. And so we were like, that's a story we have to have in here. Sure. And so, essentially I spent a month on the road photographing veterans in their everyday outfits. I didn't want to like stage them and make them play dress up or do anything like that. I basically told them, let me meet you where you're at, whether it's your business, your home, if you want to photo alone or with your family. And so we wanted to make it very organic. And we knew that when we did the book, we wanted to have their deployment photos attached to their portrait so you can kind of see the before and after. Mm-hmm. And the book is more so about the transition of veterans after they hang up the uniform. So it's more of a positive message rather than like, there's plenty of books that are going to talk about the battles and the warfare. That's never going to end. But we were like, let's do a book that talks about coming from this brotherhood of the military and then having to remove that and feel like you've lost your identity and having to restart in society, and how can you benefit from coming out the other side of that? And so everybody's story, like my problem as a civilian is I was thinking we might run into the same story twice. And Dan and Tom were like, no, we're not. Every veteran story is so different. And for sure, like the funny thing is when I was on the third veteran that I photographed, I remember after that interview, it was a pretty heavy one. And the gentleman that I photographed, like never told his story. Never wanted to even tell his family, was like, I don't know how he even said yes to being part of the book. But I pulled around the side of the road in North Carolina and I just had like tears coming down my face. And I called up Dan and I was like, whatever we do, do not let me quit. Like no matter how hard this gets, because even though we've only got 3 interviews done, that's 3 people that I feel like I've failed to tell their story. So sure enough, all 71 veterans that I interviewed are all in the book. Like there wasn't one story or one photograph that we ditched that we had to like cut room for or anything. We wanted to make sure that we honored those people. And yeah, that's obviously how it came out. And then we released it on the anniversary of 9/11. We partnered with the National Veterans Memorial Museum in Columbus, Ohio, and did a big gala event there. And then we kind of did this whole, as any book press you do, you kind of get on like Fox and Friends, CNN, MSNBC, all those. We did the tour, and the funny thing about the tour was that this is when that catastrophe of the withdrawal of Afghanistan was happening. So the funny thing is the SEO and marketing that we got on the book, because every news station was saying the 20-year war. So the book would pop up on Google quite a bit. But so we had a lot of like just podcasts and news networks that wanted to talk about it and more so talk to Dan and Tom because they wanted to hear the military perspective of what their opinions were of this withdrawal. But it's been fascinating. I've really enjoyed it because I've got to connect with so many veterans from, privates all the way to 4-star generals like General Votel, who I met in DC, and like connect with them and hear their story and kind of help bridge that gap of maybe us civilians have a hard time understanding veterans. We ask a lot of dumb questions. And I want to make sure that like this book was honoring, all the men and women that served during those 20 years.
An argument could be made that transitioning out is a lot harder than the war you fight when you're in.
That's what I've heard.
It's not true for everybody, but I also couldn't give you an example of somebody who has told me, and maybe this is out there, I just don't have an example of somebody that has told me, oh, everything that I planned and how I thought it was going to be, that's exactly how it went. Mm-hmm. Super smooth.
Yeah.
Maybe they're out there. And if you are, good for you.
That's great. Because I'll tell you what.
I've yet to encounter that story.
I didn't meet one.
Yeah.
And I think the hard part is like, we obviously had a list of like 20 questions that we would ask every veteran, and, they'd all answer it differently. But one of those questions was kind of about the transition and how it's been going for them. Mm-hmm. And some of these people in the book, they've started up successful businesses. Some of the other people that I talked to were just like, it's hard, and, would kind of pour out their emotions. And it was almost this weird thing as me as a civilian, there's some people in here that were like higher ups, like in Delta or the unit. And, Dan would go with me. There's one story in particular where Dan went with me down near Fort Bragg and we interviewed one of them, and he was kind of in charge of that. Like, and Dan was like, he was looking at me sideways when I was asking these questions. Cause I was asking like, what deployments did you do? How many? And those guys are like, they're over there all the time. And there's certain missions they can't talk about. And so Dan's just kind of like side-eyeing me like, how was Beau getting away with answering or asking these questions? And this guy is so like cool about Beau asking him, where most people or veterans would probably never ask those types of questions. And it wasn't like the dumb questions of like, hey, did you kill anybody or anything like that? It was just more kind of mission focused, what they were in charge of, what they did over there. And it was just this funny thing where he, gave me a lot of peace as a civilian and kind of like a photojournalist, if you will, coming and photographing him and his family and asking these questions. And it's taught me a lot of how graceful these people were to meet with me and kind of have me hear their story and then put it in a book, and how much now I've wanted to go into the civilian world and kind of just keep encouraging other people to maybe get behind that or tell more of these long format stories. I mean, that's what's great about like what we're doing here with podcasts or with, social media and long format storytelling is I think that there's so many interesting people out there that I think that the world needs more of that rather than just this like quick instant gratification clicks.
Yeah, and most of this stuff is negative in nature as well. There's a negativity bias, and I think that is, for whatever reason, I don't know, it's probably ingrained evolutionary to pay attention to the negativity, but I don't think we're designed to consume as much negativity as that is presented or is possible if you deeply engage with that, because there's just an existential crisis around every corner.
Yeah, and it's a weird thing where I've seen the pros and cons of social media, and it's like we obviously need it for some capacity with business nowadays, with connection and all that. But it's hard because you get in this mindset of comparison, and you're seeing everyone's highlights from their life, but you're not seeing actually what goes into their life. And so a part of me, after finishing this book and connecting with kind of the cowboy ethos and the Western lifestyle is like, those are people that I had nothing but like so much appreciation for, and the hard work that they put into feeding America and how they want to be out of the spotlight. Like a lot of them I think the cowboy community is very similar to the veteran community from what I've seen. And it's almost like they do their job, they don't complain over it, and they don't want to talk about it. They're kind of just there to kind of do their work. And I think cowboys know that they are feeding America and what they're doing is good. And they're taking care of their neighbors, and they have a foundation with God and family. But it's almost like an outsider like me or someone coming in and photographing them. There's ways that can go wrong. And I think that the important thing that I've tried to do is photograph them naturally and not so much like exploit them. Mm-hmm. Like I've always wanted to be in their corner and value what they do and share that with the rest of the world, because I think that hey, the world needs more cowboys. Like it really does at this time.
I can't argue with that. What surprised you the most talking with the 71 veterans?
I think the main takeaway that I got, and I kind of lightly touched on it, was that how different their stories were from one another. And maybe some of theirs started off similar, as like they joined because of 9/11, or they joined because they were just in a low point in their life and didn't have a job and were like, I'm just going to go in the military.
Totally. A viable option for a lot of people.
Yep. But it was one of the things that inspired me the most was hearing their story and where their lives have taken them since then. It was almost this kind of eye-opening mentality for me at the time, where I was kind of starting over. I was like just moving into my best friend's home and living in his spare bedroom with him and his family. I sold everything in California when I moved. I was kind of really starting from scratch. So kind of feeling a bit defeated and at a loss, because I quit doing fashion photography. I was going through like a breakup at the time. I moved away from my family, and then I'm interviewing people that somehow went through their own battles. It was like something that I could take away and learn from and be like, hey, you just gotta, put your boots back on and get back out there and find motivation. And I think that project, really helped motivate me, and it reshaped my love for photography. Because throughout my 18 years of being a photographer, I've tried to quit it 3 or 4 times, try to just hang it up, as most photographers do. It's like what you and I were talking about, walking here to the studio is like how much appreciation you have for photography, and maybe there's an interest that you'd want to do it, and you get into it, and it's like everything. It's you get into it, and then you start making your way up, and you start meeting some of the bigger photographers, and then you start comparing, and then it's almost like this fun hobby, this love starts to become a chore, and it starts to become work, and then it's all of a sudden that love is gone. And that's a hard balance that I've now still currently face. And I think that my escape is photographing cowboys and getting out there and doing it, because I'm working for myself. And the nice thing is that, I get to take these images and we can blow them up and put them in galleries. And then you have a whole, we've got about, I think we've got 8 galleries, but between those 8 galleries, there's about 20 galleries all together, because some of them have multiple locations. And then you've got their team that can kind of handle sales and do all that. But it's just one of those things where that book, really kind of remotivated that spark. And it helped me connect with people that, in my mind, was thinking like, when I was first thinking I'm going to photograph veterans, I'm thinking like, like the bearded, like knuckle dragger, like guys that are just like out there. And then you meet just everyday people that served that are just like you and I, that you can talk about. They like to barbecue. They like to drink beer. They like to do these things. They like to take their family to the river. And there's so many like common things that I think that maybe on my side as a civilian, we just think we're kind of separate or a little bit divided. But when you really strip down what they did and you remove the uniform, they're just people.
Is there any one story that stuck out with you the most? And you can leave the name out of it if you want to. But.
No, I can talk about. There's a woman. She's on the front page. Her name's Tanya Oxendine.
Do you know what page she's on?
I don't remember what page she's on. If you go back on that screen at the very top, you'll see her portrait. Right down the next one. Slide down right there. So that's Tanya. So Tanya, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, grew up in Atlanta, joined the Army, and to back it up, her whole childhood went through just horrible experiences, like was living in poverty, was sexually abused, and then joined the Army and became the highest, I guess you would say, like non-commissioned
NCO, yeah, non-commissioned officer.
Yep. And just went through kind of all the trials, and even talked about how there was still sexual abuse in the Army and in the military.
All the military services. Yeah. Okay. She did 30 years.
30 years.
Wow.
And just an incredible woman. Like, went through all the obstacles, all the odds, and when I sat down with her in her home, she was just such an inspiration to kind of hear from her and hear her story. And that was the one that really stuck with me. And so like every tour run we did for this book or whatnot, Dan and I kind of picked the people that we really connected with, and she was one of mine. And her story was just fascinating to hear that, she went through what a lot of people go through, just hard times in life, but came out on the other side. And, has worked for some great companies. And as far as I can tell, hopefully now she's doing well. But that was the one that really stuck to me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You were saying, I don't know if Michael was recording because I struggle to get him to do his job well, but you were saying you might do another book.
Yes.
Similar to this.
Yeah. So,
which at the pace you're doing your Cowboy book, I feel like that book, not the Cowboy one, that'll be your third book, even though you've been working on it the longest.
Yeah, that's very true.
I feel like you might have this book, the follow-up, and then in the 30s.
Well, I think my goal is to do, I would love to do a volume 2 of this book if it becomes a possibility. And like we've talked to some bigger publishers in New York. We've obviously, talked to different museums like 9/11. I hope we get to work with them one day.
How would you expand it? What would be different?
I would for sure change the layout of it. Obviously, it would still be a portrait-heavy book. It would keep the same formula. Like I want to keep the storytelling of telling more veteran stories, make it bigger. Maybe do 100 instead of 70. But I
feel like that's a catchy number too.
Yeah, could be like just something big.
Yeah,
and I would spend more time. Obviously, I had a month to go on the road and take these photos. If I knew that I could have a couple years to design the next book, I'd spend 6 months if I could traveling the country, and I would just like to keep telling this overall story and message because there's so many veterans out there that their stories need to be heard. And like even in this book, there's people in here that I'm like, if I could buy the life rights of their story, that would be a movie.
Oh yeah.
Like there's people in here, like I know that they've talked about it, and I think there's already people that have his life rights. But Nate Self, who is at Tucker Gar,
I have heard of this man.
So
yes.
Roberts Ridge.
Yep.
Like when I met with him in Austin, Texas, and took his photo, and then hearing that story, that battle, you're like, this needs to be a movie. Like it's heartbreaking what they went through, those Rangers and the SEALs up there. But there's just people like that even if you remove the special operations, just people that have like Tanya, I could see that being a movie, from what she's done. And so I'd like to do what my goal is to finish my Western book. I have a year left. So this is my last year. Next year, I'm hoping to publish it. Cause I've already got talks with a couple like Western museums of doing like an exhibition on it. And then And then I would probably resume maybe doing a volume 2 of the 20-year war. And I think we'd probably maybe change the name, but keep it in the same wheelhouse.
I was going to ask you, what do you think you would call it?
Well, so we have, after this book came out, we had got contacted by the museum. So the National Veterans Memorial Museum wanted to turn the book into an exhibition. So we selected like 20 of our favorite portraits and just made sure that the stories were all unique compared to one another and just drastically different. We blew those up, did an exhibition, and then our goal was to keep that going for the next 5 to 10 years and just let it travel the U.S. into different museums. So we titled that The 20-Year War, Our Next Greatest Generation. And we obviously took inspiration from the veterans from World War II because that was the greatest generation. Yep. But we knew that was kind of it could be a controversial title, but we looked at it like it really is the next greatest generation. I mean, these are the people that are going to be leading our country, that the people that are to carry out what's happening in society. And a lot of these veterans are doing great things in their lives and were able to come back from wartime into readjusting to being a civilian again. So we titled it Our Next Greatest Generation. And if I could, that could be a cool title for a second volume.
I dig it.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially for people who know the original title, where the homage that pays and the connection to that, I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah, and especially those who know that it's an exhibition and it's still traveling with that title. Yeah. That's kind of just off the top of my hat that we would title it something in that wheelhouse if we wanted to keep it consistent with what we've already been doing.
I like the traveling expedition idea. Have you ever seen the traveling wall expedition?
No.
Vietnam Memorial Wall.
Oh wait, yes I have.
It is fucking awesome. The original, obviously,
yet,
DC is powerful, and I recommend anybody spend some time on the mall there in DC and take a look at it. They dropped it over at Glacier High for a week.
Did they really?
Yeah, and so I got the chance. And I think it's Michael, can you double check on this? I think it's a 1/3 scale model.
Okay.
It might be 1/5.
3/5.
3/5?
Yeah.
I got 2 of those numbers correct.
Yeah.
Not in order.
Close enough.
It's not the same size.
Yeah.
But it is just as moving. And it was really cool. They had a crane up there with an American flag. And when we happened to go see it, we were to walk to it from the townhouse we rent. There was a southerly wind, but it blew the flag parallel to the ground. Huge American flag. And you walked underneath the shadow of it to go see it with flags everywhere. They do a really good, I think it was around Memorial Day too. Because the high school over there is just littered in American flags. And Main Street, littered in American flags. It's awesome.
Isn't that incredible to see that there's places that still, it
is incredible, but what is more incredible to me is that people will say this country was never great and that we shouldn't do things like that.
It's just crazy to me to think that.
I try as hard as I can to see things through other people's eyes.
Same.
I struggle to understand where they land at that assessment. And I'll be the first. Our country is very flawed.
Yep.
As is every country on earth. We have a checkered past of really stupid shit. Probably the biggest stain on our country, slavery. Mm-hmm. I don't know how anybody thought that was a good idea back then.
Or other countries that did it.
Of which
Ireland,
also, again,
Norway.
Name for me another country that doesn't have a very similar or the exact same black stain on their, no pun intended by black stain, but that same stain on their history.
Mm-hmm. I'm Norwegian descent, and if you look at the history of Norway, they were raping and pillaging their own people. And slaving them. It was bad.
Human beings are the most savage species on planet
We can
Earth.
be ugly. We can be beautiful.
Yeah. But to get to that place where you think that display of patriotism is somehow disgusting or no longer deserved or unwarranted, I'm in an attempt to try to find my way to look at that, you would have to objectively ignore or intentionally rewrite some bullshit to get to that place.
You know what I think it is I think it's our country has created 2 identities. So anything patriotic is immediately put into conservative side.
Like hard right wing, actually, too.
Exactly. So I think and I'm like you. So even though if there's and I don't agree with very far right and very far left. I think you can swing so far in either direction.
Extremists scare the shit out of me.
Yes.
In whatever category they may come into.
Yep.
Religious, ideological, dietary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, yoga, even jujitsu.
Yeah.
I'm more like, hey,
The health thing might be a good
let's be
thing. I
normal.
wish I could do that. I just went up to.
Yeah, but the health thing taken too far
Oh yeah, true.
will fucking ruin your life.
That's
and it's
true.
again like you, whatever. Live your life however you want to. Be on the front leading edge. Be as extreme as you want to. But you know, maybe recognize you might. There's things that if you take it too far, it's actually not great for you.
Yeah. See, I got a problem where even this morning I went up to Pole Bridge. It's like one of my favorite little towns.
Yeah.
Got those Huckleberry Bear Claws.
I was gonna say, did you get some cinnamon rolls up there?
No, I got the Huckleberry Bear Claw. I just did it so I could
How
take
many?
a photo and make my wife jealous. I got 2. I only ate one. One's in the back seat of the truck right now.
Just melting.
Oh, it's melting. It's going to be great for later when I sit in a cheap motel and eat that. But going back, I think I try and keep an open mindset of, I don't watch the news much at all. And so if I do any research or I look up anything, I think most of the days now it's like YouTube. You know, if you find stuff on YouTube or I even just sit down and talk with people, you know, my travels have gotten me to meet some of the far left, far right. And I try and hear everybody out because I think being a person, like, you deserve to be heard. And I think that the reality is that we make judgment so much. And I think that going back to if you see patriotic flags or an event like that it's automatically put in the box as far right. Mm-hmm. If you see somebody who maybe has their hair dyed or maybe they care about the environment, they're immediately put into the far left. So we categorize these people based on what we see every day on social media and what's fed to us, that we're just this echo chamber of like judgment. And it becomes this crazy divide to where people can't even like relate or have anything to talk about anymore outside of politics. And it's really sad. It's unfortunate that people can't have appreciation for those events or military because they look at it as, well, I don't want to support that because screw the system, because that system has wronged me and that system is led by Trump. And so I'm not going to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And it just works its
be
way.
destroyed, even though I don't have a better solution for what to put in place.
Yeah.
But also destroy it.
But the reality is, you see that and you see people being vocal about that stuff online.
Yeah.
And maybe at like these rallies happening right now in LA. But
Which in LA right now, and this is going to come out weeks from now.
Yeah.
For the rallies that hopefully are no longer ongoing
Hopefully
in LA,
not.
it was 1 square mile of a city that is 567 square miles.
Yes.
90% of the stuff I see online does not align with 90% of the things I see with my own eyes. That's the biggest disconnect.
No, it would make you think it was a whole city.
And I ask people that who are willing to have a conversation, especially if you can tell that their emotional flame like the fire is burning very intensely. I try to get to the place of asking them, are the things that you are seeing online that are making you feel this way, are you actually seeing this in your day-to-day life? I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but is the volume of what you're seeing online equal to the volume of what you're seeing in your day-to-day life?
Yeah.
And if it is vastly different, and I'm not an expert in any of this, I think that there is an issue there. And I think that's how you can largely, if you could pick your word, I guess, manipulate or control people.
Yeah. And there's a lot of that going on to where, I mean, even traveling, you know, if people look at me, I mean, they see dirty boots, a cowboy hat, you know, I'm immediately put into the conservative camp. And by all means, like, I do vote that way. I'm a man of God. Like, I am a traditional man. But there's a part of me that I can have conversations with people and not be so kind of drastic and make it so, because it's like I've sat next to people that maybe were really far left and we've had honest conversations, not even about politics. And I'm sure they looked me up and down and were like immediately thinking, I know this guy's a Trump supporter. I know he's probably like, the worst thing you could be is being a white, straight, conservative Christian male nowadays.
The term is cis.
Cis.
Yeah.
I'm old, I guess.
With a C.
Oh, okay. What is that?
Cis. Cisgendered?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I
Most
feel like I've
people would
heard it.
think
And
cis is like SIS, but I think that's short for sister.
I feel like I've heard it and I've just never looked it up at what it meant. But anyways.
I just saved you the time. You're welcome.
Thank you. Now I'm going to use that word all the time.
I have conversations, or I try to as well. I don't understand why people can't wrap their head around the concept of understanding something does not have to equate to agreeance.
No.
Why not explore why somebody feels the way that they do? At the end of that conversation, you are under no obligation to agree with what that person believes, nor are they. But it will help you maybe take a step to your left or right, not politically, just, changing the angle on how you're viewing something that could be enlightening in some way.
But the reality is that, and I don't mean this to hurt anybody, but I think we've just become so sensitive as people. And
Are
not
you
just
trying to say we're pussies?
I think we are. And I'm not just saying
You chose a sensitive word to call people pussies.
that's true. And I'm not saying as a nation, but as the world.
Yeah. Outrage is optional.
And so I think what has happened is that when we have a disagreement, which is healthy to disagree on things, that's why we debate. Like, that's why we can say, hey, agree to disagree, and then move on with your day, and you can still be friends. You can still get along. But the reality is that when we disagree, people take that personally, and they take it as one step further, that if I disagree with you, it's basically like me saying, no, screw your feelings, you're wrong. And they take it so internally.
What do you think that is now?
I think we all want to be accepted. I think we all want to be welcomed. We all want to be loved for who we are.
But has that really changed? Don't you think most humans have felt that way through most of life?
I think we've always felt that way, but I think it's now at an all-time high because of...
I wonder why it would increase.
I think it's because us as humans, because of the evolution of social media and everything else, we've become more disconnected from one another. So now all we want to be is heard and seen.
Isn't it funny that social media is neither social nor media?
No, it's crazy. It's like, that's why I said it's a good thing and it's a bad thing, because what it's doing is it's driving away connection. It's driving away like just society as a whole. So it's kind of like one of those things where if you remove that connection, it's almost like people no longer feel heard or loved or seen.
Today's episode is brought to you by Incogni. Have you ever had the feeling that your personal information is no longer personally yours? You ever had somebody send you a text message for an offer? Or here's one that I get all the time. Here's a message from Sunrise, a debt collector. Or all of a sudden you're at your house, you're collecting your mail, and you start getting offers from credit cards, from loyalty cards. It's almost as if there are entities and organizations out there that traffic in your personal information. It's not almost as if. There are thousands of companies that are collecting, aggregating, and trading your personal data without you knowing anything about it. You have the right to request data brokers to delete what information they have about you and protect your privacy. The bad news is this. It would take you years to do it manually. Well, guess what? Incogni can do the messy work for you. Automatically, Incogni helps you protect your privacy and take your personal data off the market by reaching out to the data brokers on your behalf, requesting your personal data removal, and dealing with their objections. You may ask yourself, what kind of information is being collected by these entities? Well, usually your full name, your email, your home address, gender, phone number, education, relatives, social security number, employment history, and of course, shopping and browsing habits. Incogni has a new unlimited and family unlimited plan. You can get an extra level of protection with Incogni's custom removals feature in the unlimited plan and family unlimited plans. You can point to any people search site or other website where your personal information is visible, and one of their privacy agents will take care of the rest for you. If this sounds like something that might make your life easier or a little bit better, or maybe you just want to regain some of your privacy, use the code ClearedHot at incogni.com/clearedhot to get an exclusive 60% off. That is 60% off of the services that Incogni offers. Incogni.com/clearedhot using the code ClearedHot. Link in the show notes below. Back to the show.
And so when they get a chance to actually vocalize how they feel and someone disagrees with that, it hits them twice as hard.
And what's wild is I don't care what you believe.
No.
You'll never be able to convince everybody. You're never going to be fully aligned with there's always going to be somebody out there that believes something different. I don't care what your belief is.
Yeah.
I'm a devout pacifist, and nobody should be killed for any reason. Allow me to introduce you to an Islamic jihadist.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Take what you believe and go over there and watch what happens.
Fuck.
I hate to say that, but like there's a lot of these things where I understand the idea and concept to back a country like that. But if you take some of the things that we believe in here as a nation, let's just say gay rights marriage.
Gay rights for Palestine is an interesting one.
Yeah. So all that stuff. If you take that argument or you take that lifestyle,
Or the person, who
Or
has
the
that
person
lifestyle
that has
and
that?
goes to the place that you are protesting
go
for,
move there for a week and protest.
it is, they're not going to have the reception that you would think.
No. And that's the unfortunate reality is that I've traveled to some just interesting places, and I would say that we have it so lucky here in America. Even
Yes.
with all the chaos we see daily on social media and on the news, we live a very cushy lifestyle.
You hit it on the head, though, and that is your ability to see with your own eyes the different conditions and environments that people live in. You can access the world through your device. It's not the same.
No.
It isn't. It is not the same. The visceral experience, the things that are never going to be caught up on whatever size of that screen or phones are going to become. You can learn, but what I think allows me to appreciate the most about this country and what we have, whether people take advantage of it or not, because that's a choice too. I think a lot of people don't even understand the things that they're not taking advantage of.
Yeah.
Which is, again, live your life the way you want to. But in traveling the world to places that do not get a lot of stars on TripAdvisor,
Yeah.
it reorients your sense of gratitude when you come back.
When you travel and see some places and there's like a whole another level homelessness
Yeah.
where like kids are shitting in the streets.
Go somewhere where the side of the concrete into the road is still red from where they were cutting people's heads off.
Yeah.
For a disagreement.
Yep.
Or where there's still, theft of even a minor item. Your hands are coming off.
Yeah.
Let alone a woman, God forbid, not wearing a beekeeper outfit.
And it's happening in public.
Yeah.
Like you're walking by doing your shopping for groceries and you're seeing that happen.
Yeah.
So that's the crazy reality is that like, I truly believe like if you have clean water here in the US and you have some kind of shelter over your head, you're rich. Like you're blessed in some degree compared to some other places. And I know that we all have struggles. We all have our problems, whether it's financial, it's work, it's relationships, anything else. I try and look at the positive on the other side of everything and look at like, I have my own complaints. I have my own goals that I want to do and achieve. But when I really break it down, and I need to remind myself this, and that's why I'm saying it, is that I do live a great life and I am blessed. And I think kind of going back to it all is I just wish that we weren't so kind of divided because of social media. I wish that more people could just have honest conversations and not really take it to heart.
Yeah.
But I get at the core, it's because people want to be heard. People want to be accepted and they want to be loved. And sometimes that can go too far and they react emotionally because of it. And I just think I'm just going to say as a nation, as a country for the U.S., we didn't used to be like that. We could agree to disagree and move on and not take it harsh.
Well, you also weren't able to argue with somebody that you're never going to meet in a different part of the country.
Yep.
I do.
Every second of the day.
Every second of the day. And also, by the way, just so most people know, half those people are bots.
Yes.
I forget the stat. Was it Richard Ryan that was on here talking about 80% of internet traffic is bots?
Yeah.
There's a
something
stat
like that.
that'll blow
Really?
your hat off.
No kidding.
These people that you're in arguments with, it might just... Have you ever seen these videos of the cell phone AI bot farms where it's just racks and racks and racks and racks? One of the things I love about social media, like I fantasize often of it being just completely, just turning it off and the chaos that would ensue for a few days and then everybody would be like, yeah, we're totally fine.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have a way to get amazing memes. It is my favorite part.
That is my favorite part too.
God damn it, they are amazing.
And we're like every human. We're like sitting in bed about it, sitting in bed about to go to sleep, holding our phone over our face in the dark room, looking at memes and just laughing.
You'll appreciate this as a photographer, someone in a visual medium. Michael, look this up and see if you can find it. It's an art. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's picture. It's a display where they Photoshop the device out of their hands.
No kidding.
And it just shows the posture and the direction of the eyes and how everybody, like if that device, how non-fucking sensical it all is.
Well, I'm sure you've seen, and maybe this is similar.
Just go to an airport and see how many people's eyes are down at a 45-degree angle as opposed to up and looking around.
Cranking their neck.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, whoa.
I knew you would love this.
What?
Look at that one on the top left. Like, isn't it the people getting ready to get married? Isn't that an amazing graphical depiction of how fucking stupid we are?
That's crazy. Just
Keep
like
going
by
down,
how
Michael.
like separated they look as humans.
Yeah.
Like how not in the moment we are.
Look at all three of the kids. I mean, that is so classic. Guy driving a tractor on a...
That's hilarious.
Isn't that wild, though?
It's crazy because it's one of those things where
What we're looking at is Eric Pickersgill Studio, and it's
Eric, those are some cool photos.
ericpickersgill.com/removed.
if you ever watches this, those are great photos. It's a cool series.
It is,
It's very
right?
creative. Yeah, it's one of those things where it's sad because you know what's funny is like now you're seeing like our parents in it. You know, where you've got like
My dad's trying.
78-year-olds that are on their phone all the time.
My dad does Saturday Instagram lives.
Really?
He calls them a podcast.
Do you join in? Do you watch them?
Absolutely fucking not. I have kept trying to. Michael can attest this. How many warnings have I given out about my dad?
Yeah.
It is a matter of time until he forgets to turn it off and you're with him while he's taking a shit. Or walking around the house naked with his robe open, which, by the way, isn't awesome to see when you come visit him in the morning.
Yeah.
78-year-old Yeti guy is head to toe. He's like a fucking chia pet. Nobody needs to see that.
The crazy thing is like when I look at these photos, is I feel for him, but we're guilty of it.
Oh,
Like I go to the
you and I could
if I
be
go to
in
the
any
bathroom,
of those pictures.
my phone is with me.
Yes, of course.
And it's like that's how I pass the time.
Yeah.
When I'm taking a shit.
Or right before you go to bed. Or how quickly do you reach? God, this was one that'll turn your stomach. How quickly upon waking up do you reach for your phone?
Yeah.
And why?
And not just to turn off the alarm.
Yeah.
But-
oh, yeah. And why? Like the alarm's off and then you're straight into
It's
something
that
else.
dopamine rush.
I guess.
It's what I said. It's now that we know that we connect with everybody across the world in a matter of seconds, we want to feel like we're heard, seen, appreciated. So we want to go on social media and see how many likes we got, how many comments we got. And that's one thing where with probably both of our businesses having to be online, and maybe you have to share podcasts, you have to share different things. I have to share photos, I have to share artworks and galleries, and I have to that's what helps drive the business. I have to remind myself to remove it from my life. And the hard part is I'm still learning it because my wife and I have this conversation all the time where I'm guilty, where her and I will sit down at the dinner table and have dinner, but sometimes I'll have just YouTube playing where maybe I want her to be entertained and enjoy it with me.
Yeah.
And she's like, can we have dinner? And I'm like, you're right.
Yeah.
But I'm learning that balance of like, you can have that stuff, but you have to have a healthy relationship with it.
You have to control it. It can't control you.
Because I think social media, and not just social media, our phones is probably the most addictive drug we have.
Maybe my dad has it nailed. I mean, honestly, I've said this many times. I could buy him a brick and call it a cell phone, like a literal like red McNear Common. It would serve about the same purpose.
Yeah.
Because I'll ask him, Dad, I've been trying to call you for 6 hours. Yeah, I was playing golf. I'm calling you back right now. What's up? Like, I don't even remember why I was calling you, but it was important in the moment. Okay, hope you figured it out.
Yeah.
He had a great round of golf, uninterrupted.
I think we just got to enjoy life more. And that's the reality is I think that, look, I'm the worst person where I grew up in a sense with a good family, but I grew up not feeling like welcomed, appreciated, or seen. You know, I was like the kid in high school that just didn't get a lot of attention. Tried to go after the most beautiful women, never got them. So there was so what turned into that was an angry teenager kid that was getting in trouble with the law, getting in fights every week at school. And then that maybe that younger trauma that created in a sense has carried into my business life now to where that was perfect timing for men's mental health. But it's kind of one of those things where it now makes me want to do better than anybody else, which is a good thing to have, to be motivated and be hungry and to work harder than anybody else in the room. But it creates this divide of enjoying life.
Yeah.
Because in my career, you're not promised a 9 to 5. You're not promised income. So you have to work really hard to get the next check. And you need to work really hard to stay above maybe people in your sphere or in the same career path as you. And so part of me always thinks if I let my foot off the gas, someone's going to pass me by, or I'm not going to be able to put food on the table for my wife and future family. But the reality is that I think that when people actually allow themselves to take a step back and enjoy a hobby, enjoy connecting with other people, I think that your life and your business probably excels more.
Yeah.
Because your mental state is in a lot better spot where you're not like clawing at it and you're anxiety ridden of trying to like make something the next best thing or stay afloat.
How many times have you had this experience or seen it where somebody is doing that? They're clawing their foot on the gas, and somebody else who maybe not in the same sphere, but can look at their problem and see it from a view that's not 6 inches in front of their face and provide them a really simple option that when they take, it totally solves the problem that they never considered because you're just smashing your head against the wall. I think that's kind of what happens when you put it in neutral for a second and detach. And I mean, I ask myself this question all the time. How much is enough? What is the end state here? To me, I can say I think I'm in the top 3 people on earth who've made dumb decisions with money. And it was small amounts of money, but I'm just a retard. So
I think we all like have problems with that.
But then what I realize is I'll ask myself that question. How much is enough? Because don't get me wrong. I like money just like everybody else.
Yep.
Your cameras are not free. Actually, I bet you your film cameras are probably more expensive than a lot of digital
the
ones.
films are pretty expensive to keep up with.
I bet. But how much do you need? To me, I've landed at wealth is enough money to do what I want to with my time.
Yep.
That's really it. Sure, I can appreciate, a lot of people's dream cars are like, super fancy sports cars. To me, it's a badass truck.
That's me.
Yeah.
If you gave me a Lamborghini, I'd sell it tomorrow.
Yeah,
and I'd go get a
truck.
badass truck.
Yeah.
I'd build a $250,000 truck.
Yeah.
And that would be...
They have that. That's called the Hennessy Raptor R.
I don't know if I'd get a Raptor, though.
Well, obviously, you haven't looked at the Hennessy Raptor R, which is exactly $250,000.
They are cool trucks. I'm just thinking I'd probably... I don't know. I'd build some like just crazy rig. But anyways, it's...
But and also, though, even if I had enough money to buy one of those, in a month, it would mean far less to you.
Yeah.
This aspiration of trying to get it or wanting to get it, and then you get it, and eventually you're like, meh, whatevs.
Well, that's what we do. And I think that's the hard part that I've seen with my own personal life is, I'm like everybody else who probably runs a business at the beginning of the year. I don't write out, what are they called? Like your yearly, when the New Year's happen. No, like I write a business plan and I write down like goals.
Yeah.
And as I go through those goals and I accomplish them, I don't sit back and celebrate. That's my problem, is that I'll accomplish something and then I'm on to the next thing.
I struggle with that.
On to the next.
I really do struggle with that. And especially if you have a consistent habit. I was about to say a consistent habit of being successful, but more than anything, it's the consistency that I think leads to that success. How do you learn to appreciate the successes you have if A, you never stop, and B, you never fall short? Mm-hmm. It's this curse of being successful.
Yeah, and like for me, it's, like one of those goals could be, okay, this year I want to get into 2 or 3 more galleries to expand the business and get my work in other places of the country. And then you accomplish those, and now you're looking at how can I get 4 or 5? And you're just like, your initial goal was this, and you're not sitting back and enjoying it and celebrating it. And I thank God that my wife is kind of the voice of reason within my world, because she's the one who hears these conversations daily. She's the one who sees the struggles I go through. And like recently, I had this issue where, there's only so many of us Western photographers. There's not very many of us that are photographing cowboys. I think there's a lot more now because of Yellowstone, and they see the hype and the trend that it's become. And I think it's great because we could have more people out there documenting this lifestyle and keep spreading that. But you get competitive no matter what industry you're in. And so there's not many of us, I should say, that are maybe doing like the fine art world or are printing our work and selling it for a good amount of money or whatever the case may be. And I found myself like for a week or two, just like comparing and feeling like defeated because I'm seeing what somebody else has accomplished on social media. And I talked to my wife about it. She's like, did you ever stop and think like maybe they look at your work and they think, how is Beau selling his work in galleries? How is he doing this? How is he doing that? And I was like, no, I just looked at what I see they're doing online And I equated that to doing better than myself. And it made me feel weak, and it made me feel insecure. And it brought up, I have a lot of envy and jealous issues within my career because I want to be at the top. You know, who doesn't? You want to do the best you can. And I had a moment of realization where I was like, you know what? Like, and I talked to, I lead a men's Bible study at my house every week. And I talked to those guys in my group. And they're like, I challenge you to pray for him, that person that you're jealous over. And I didn't even think about it. I was just like, that's so weird to think of. Like, pray for somebody else's success when I'm trying to compete with them. And I remember I did. I prayed when I was in the shower, and I was like, Lord, this is a difficult prayer. This is hard for me to come to you with because I want to be, in my mind, better than this person. But I hope that you bring them many blessings. I hope that you continue to help their career grow. And I hope that they continue to do great things. And it was almost like, you know, whether you're a God-fearing man or not, or anybody listening, I think the important lesson behind what I'm getting at is that I think the second we can kind of free ourselves a little bit from that torment and understand that there's enough to go around, there's enough for all of us to win, but maybe there's one or two people that you're competing with or you look at, maybe people look at me and hate me because they see the work that I'm doing, but they've never met me.
They don't hate you. They hate your success.
That's what it is. And I realize that it's people online that I'm comparing to that I've never met. So I haven't even given them a fair chance to get to know them. But I think that the reality is that if we can actually like hope the best for people and celebrate other people's wins, I think that's a whole lot healthier of a lifestyle and mentality to have. And I'm saying that as somebody that struggles with that on a daily basis.
I don't know if God wants you to pray in the shower.
I know. I probably should have a proper
It doesn't
term.
want to see guys with their wieners out praying for stuff.
I'm not the typical guy that gets on, on your knees beside the bed.
I'm not saying you have to do that, but like, dude, let's wear a loincloth of some kind.
I know, right?
It's like,
He's like, dude, right now?
he'd be like, oh, God.
Come on, right now? Bo, you could have waited till you got out and got dressed for the day. And yeah, it's funny, but it's, no, I don't know. It's one of those things where, and I think this all goes back to our previous conversation with just social media, where we see people's highlight reel of their life, of their career, of what they're doing. And
Well, then there's power to it as well. And I'll tie this into something I know you were involved with.
Yeah.
North Carolina.
Yep.
That brought attention to an area that drastically needed it. So you can't like exercise the whole thing. Well, I mean, you could,
True.
but there'd be some good you're removing from that as well, because holy cow, the response to that was probably almost too much, actually.
Yeah. And
But what a rapid way to get people's attention on something that they could actually, if they wanted to, have some impact on.
yeah, I got to shout out Nick Palmagano, by the way, because he's the one that introduced us. I reached out to him and was talking to him about, just wanting to expand my story and expand, because I think the reality is I think my story can help others. Excuse me.
No, that's all right. Don't worry about it. Is that your old calendar alert?
But I had my silencer on. Sorry about that.
No worries.
So
Many times I've I have to do the same thing, but my family can call through.
yeah,
And my daughter, if I don't pick up, her move is several more phone calls.
I think that's what it is I have a pass through. Do you mind if I get rid of that?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Take your time. Yeah, my daughter will blow
I
my
just turned it off.
shit up.
Yeah, that was my wife, and I know that she'll probably call it, and I have a pass through.
Yeah.
And it's funny you mentioned that because I didn't even think about it. I recently set that up like a month ago.
Yeah. No, my daughter will blast through, and sometimes, say I'm doing like a Friday so episode, I'll stop and I'll answer on the 6th call. Hey, what's going on, sweetheart? Oh, nothing. Just calling to check in, see what you're doing.
Yeah. Yep. Well, it's so get.
You didn't get that I was doing something important after the first 6 calls I didn't
Yeah,
answer?
if I didn't answer once or twice,
Yeah.
and you keep trying, I'm busy. But no, so I reached out to Nick because I've worked with him in the past on some things, and he's always been kind of a supporter of what Dan and I did with this book and with Tom. And Tom knew him from Ranger Up.
Yep.
They worked together, and so it kind of became this thing where the North Carolina thing happened because I saw Tim post about it. I direct messaged him, and I was like, hey, how's everything going up there? Like, is there anything that that they need that maybe I can put out online, and he was like, get your ass up here and bring your cameras and photograph everything. And I was like, okay. And at the time, I was up in Maine with my wife visiting her family. And I remember we had a 17.5-hour drive. And Sarah from Independence Fund got in touch with me right after Tim DM'd me. She like called me like 2 minutes after that message. And she was like, do you want to come out here? You know, I can put you in touch with Save Our Allies, and you can come out and kind of just stay with the guys. And we're doing like wellness checks with people that are stranded up in the mountains. So I was like, yeah, I'm on my drive home. I've got like another 10 hours. I'm going to be home at like midnight, and let me get 4 hours of sleep, repack, and I'll drive up to Asheville. Because at the time, you know, we live in Charleston, South Carolina. So it's like a 5.5-hour drive. So I got like 3.5, 4 hours of sleep, repacked my bags, and I was like, I'm going to go up there for a couple days. And where we were sitting is we had like a little like pop-up fob. It was at an elementary school. So I just like set up my tent right there in the lawn. And every day I would go out with some of the guys. We'd either be in a helicopter, or we would take like a side-by-side or a quad or off-road vehicle up in the hills, and we would deliver food supplies.
Was this your first time being in an environment like that?
I would say so.
Okay.
Yeah, first time.
We'll call it a disaster environment.
Yep.
Yeah.
First time ever like photographing that, disaster relief, helping out with that stuff. And I forgot the point you made, but when you were talking about when you see things through a different lens, that was me with a body that I found. And it's one of those things, as a photographer, you see death online. You see it on a screen.
It's way different when it's right there at your feet.
Yeah. And I think it was one of those things where I think us photographers have dark imaginations, where I knew going up there, in my mind as a photographer, I was thinking, I wonder what it'd be like if I did find a body. Because you get that general curiosity, and you know that they're around. You know what just happened there. The media is not accounting for the amount of bodies that were actually up there. And when I got up there, you know, I was taking photos and portraits of people that we were helping. And I think on like the last day that I was there, I broke away from the group. I went and just took some of the typical like devastation photos. You know, like the gas stations were like leaning off the side of the road. 8-foot creeks were turned into like 40 like yard wide. Yeah. Like almost rivers at that point. And there's a young group of guys, and people were kind of telling me to be careful because people were being like looted and robbed. And I remember I was along this river edge, and there were some younger guys that came out, and like they got like chainsaws and all kinds of stuff. And I'm thinking like, I've got this camera, this film camera, it's not worth anything, but I wonder if they're gonna like, you know, give me crap or anything. And I was like, hey fellas, how's it going? We got to talking. You know, I asked them to take their photo, and they said yeah, and they kind of got a kick out of it. And they told me they're with a cadaver team, and they're out there just cutting down limbs, looking for bodies. They've got some dogs. And then I see like 2 patrol cars with police officers come down and meet these guys. And I'm like, okay, so these younger, like 20-year-olds are working with the local police. And they're like, do you want to tag along? And I was like, yeah, sure. I was like, have you guys found anything? And they're like, no, we've been out here for 3 or 4 days. We've had a couple like false flags, but we haven't found a body. Well, no kidding. 15 minutes later, I follow them in their like white unmarked SUV, park alongside this road, back to the very first spot that I went to when I first got there 4 days prior. I was on the other side of the river looking at a gas station that was leaning over it. And now I'm on this polar opposite side, and I'm looking at that tree line, and there's a canine that's got a lead, and he's like pacing back and forth this tree line. And so sure enough, they got a hit, they got a scent. We go over there, you smell it before you see it. Mm-hmm. And it's like debris that's piled up in these trees. And it's like half a house with like tires and like just everything that's drifted down into it. And it's almost like caused this like beaver dam. And you don't see it until I go down. I kind of use this rope to like leverage myself and climb down this steep embankment. And then I look up into the tree, like this beaver dam, and then you see the body in there, and it's all mangled up in there. And it's been sitting there for 9 days, and the sun's been beating on it, and you can't even tell what skin color that person was originally because they're just black from just the sun. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things where it's like I said, you can take a photo of a dead body because you're looking through a lens that's separating that emotion. But when you're actually sitting there studying it and kind of looking at it, and you have the smell, and you can see that their body's bloated, it was hard to kind of see it, you know. And it's I've got a strong mentality where you can kind of decompartmentalize that stuff, but when you're not expecting it, and all of a sudden 15 minutes later you actually do find one, and you're like, man, that was someone's life, and you don't know how many others could be in that so-called like nest of debris. You know, there's an officer who was there who I took his photo, him and his canine, and he's like, he was like, the reality is we found like families most of the time. It's not just one. And they asked me if I want to like stick around, you know, because they were going to be cutting limbs, tearing out those trees, removing all that debris just to get the body out. And they told me it was going to take like 4 hours. And I was like, it's not really worth, like, I don't necessarily need to see that. You know, you've seen enough to where it's like, what are you going to see after that? I mean, a body's just going to completely dismember itself when you pull it out. Mm-hmm. And he was like, to be honest, it's not worth seeing. You know, it's just, it gets more graphic than what you're seeing here. And I went back to camp, and I was talking to some of the veterans that were there working, and, you know, some of them have obviously been exposed to plenty of that overseas. And they're like, was that your first one? I was like, yeah. I was like, that was the first one. And I've seen them on like car wrecks and stuff like that, or a family member dying, but nothing like kind of like that. And it's weird. I mean, I feel for a lot of those people up in those areas, you know, Tennessee and Asheville and all those people that were affected, because, I mean, even talking to people, they had family members that they haven't even talked to for weeks, that they didn't know where they were. And unfortunately, I mean, the reality is they're probably gone, and I don't know if they ever recovered them.
Did you photograph the body?
I did. Mm-hmm.
That's probably a tough one to look back on.
Yeah, it's still on my computer.
Yeah.
It's still on my phone. And there's no need for me to go back and look at it.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I took one photo where you can kind of just see like a hand, and then I kind of left like the main photo out, because I was like,
that's all you need.
The part of me also thought, like, here's the dark, morbid thing of being a photographer, is you want to document life because you see the beauty in death. But then when you really sit down that night and you don't have your camera anymore, and you think about, like, that was somebody that probably had a family, and that was somebody that was breathing that is now gone, I think it sets in, and you realize, like, you're almost thinking, like, I didn't need to take that photo. Like, there's really no need for it. What purpose is it going to serve? I'm not posting it. It's not going anywhere. It's just sitting on a hard drive or whatnot. And maybe it was just more of a thing where I needed to do it to feel that emotion later on, to then go and share that with others. But it's a weird thing. I mean, I feel for photojournalists, and, you know, I've always wanted to be a combat photographer. You know, I've always thought it'd be neat to go to different regions and different places that you see that every day.
Yeah, until you step on a fucking landmine.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Pros and cons, man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and it's it's a weird thing. And, you know, there was times where I got the call to go to Ukraine the week that it was happening, and I just couldn't because I was in Texas working on a project.
Yeah.
But it was a matter of like, hey, 48 hours, we want to put you on a C-17. And I was like, that sounds great. I would love to, but...
Yeah, you might love to, but some of this stuff is be careful what you wish for, man.
Mm-hmm. Especially for the footage that you see that's going on over there with like the drones and all that.
Have you seen the pictures?
That's haunting.
Have you seen the pictures of these fields covered in fiber optic wires?
Oh, yeah.
Holy shit.
Or those spider webs that go over like the roads just to keep the drones from blowing up trucks and all that.
Yeah. If Michael, find one of those pictures if you can, man. These this is not something that I think anybody... I don't think I've been out for a good amount of time now, but I don't remember ever having a conversation about this level of drone warfare. I am so glad I am not in the game.
If that's the future of warfare, that's terrifying.
The future is like 10,000 of them swarming you.
Yeah.
It's not one on a fiber optic, which is bad enough, by the way. Yeah, those are
and they're big drones too.
Yeah. Yeah, look at these fields. And that's a minor one too. That's
crazy.
There's pictures of just
it's like spider webs.
50x of that much fiber optic cable. Yeah, it has completely changed the face of warfare.
Oh, right there, that top left one on Reddit. You can see more.
Yes. Oh my God.
It's not a big image, but that's crazy. Wow.
I mean,
do you think that's going to like go into like the Geneva Convention though? Like drone warfare on this level?
Man, I don't know. Because I don't know what their threshold is. They're trying to, in a way, put boundaries on the most inhumane act possible, taking another person's life. Like, hey, let's set some boundaries here.
Yeah.
I mean, to the person getting killed, I don't, it's like,
Have you seen those videos though? The drones hovering, and you can see like
yes,
the look on some of those soldiers' faces is they're smoking a cigarette and they just gave up.
yeah,
Like they're staring at the drone and they're just like, just do it already. And it's traumatic. There's one video that I saw, can't remember where I found it, but there was
you got to be careful these rabbit holes you go down.
No, I know.
Because one will beget another.
Yes.
Which will beget not a lot of sleep for about a week.
No, and I don't want to see them, but there was one that I saw that it wasn't graphic. It didn't show like somebody being detonated by one, but it was just like probably minutes before. And there was like in these trenches, like some Ukrainian soldiers. And there's one guy, just his hands were just shaking because you could hear the buzzing. You can hear the drone in the background of the video. And it's like, woo, woo, like trying to find.
Yeah.
And you can literally hear in the background, like it finds somebody and you hear it just like hauling ass and you hear it detonate. And then you just see these guys sitting in this trench. Like if it finds you, you can't do anything about it.
I don't know what you can
Like
do.
if you're getting shot at by another soldier, you might be able to run for cover
Or shoot back.
Find a way to evade, to flank,
Yeah.
to shoot back. But when you're like being like hunted by this like machine
with
that has thermal,
yeah.
there's nothing you can do to outrun it. Maybe you can shoot it, but those things are so fast.
I mean, there are videos, plenty of them, where they're getting shot at. The drone is, and I mean, good luck.
Yeah,
I wish,
especially with a rifle round like a 5.56, or
I wish marksmanship was like it is in the John Wick movies, where you can clearly not aim and hit everything.
Yeah,
not so much.
Even birdshot on one of those things is going to be still a tough shot.
I heard somebody the other day. Well, what they need to do is they need to find professional skeet shooters. Those guys over there, they'll just detonate those drones. And I have to think to myself, I want to be like, you're an idiot.
No.
For one. But they just don't understand. A warhead coming at you at a high velocity and you shoot it, say it were to go off, guess who's getting peppered with all that too?
Oh, yeah. All that shrapnel and debris that's coming down on top of you. Because by the time you shoot it, it's probably 40 yards away from you.
Likely coming in at a good clip.
Yeah.
So
You're still getting that blast and everything else that's coming down on top of you.
Yeah, I don't think the answer to that is the 4th Russian skeet shooting brigade.
No.
I just don't think that's the solution. No. And the fiber optic stuff is defeating, the jamming capability, all that stuff. Do you EMP it? That kills your stuff as well, too.
Yep.
Meanwhile, China apparently has the ability to crank out 700,000 drones per month.
That's crazy.
Have you seen some of the drone shows that they do over there? These like
for the fireworks shows and all that?
Like,
yeah.
We're fucked.
I think so, too. I have this conversation that's controversial, but I see them leading in the next 10 years.
The issue is going to be their population.
That's what I'm saying.
Their one child policy for so long, their population is aging rapidly. It's actually declining.
Oh,
rapidly.
is it? Okay.
Yeah, they're not going to have the ability to be a global superpower just due to population age. Mm-hmm. Technology-wise, I'm curious, but yeah, their one child policy and also focusing on only men has long-term consequences for survival of your society.
Yeah, that's true. And I know they have like their own issues. It's just that thought process of, you're hearing talks of them already harvesting on the moon before we are and all that weird stuff where you're like...
Harvesting what, though?
Helium-9, I think that's what it's called. I could be mistaken.
Why would somebody go to the moon for that? What do they... Oh, they do it for chips, right? Something like that?
Yeah.
Superconductors?
Yeah. Superconductors, because it cools off things like instantly to where they're planning 10 years ahead. And that's just like, from what I heard online podcasts, seeing stuff where you're like, what? Like China's kind of beat us to the moon and they're harvesting all this stuff. And you don't know what's true, what's not. You take it with a grain of salt. You try to live in fear.
I'm choosing to focus on the Yeti content that I'm seeing on Instagram.
Oh, yeah. That is great.
The VO3.
Yeah.
Those are pretty awesome. That and
They
the
are.
babies doing podcasts
Yes.
are some of my favorites recently.
Have you done one yet?
No. Because I think it is just a software plugin.
Yeah.
I was looking at doing it. I'm like, do I really want to pay $250 a month just to dick around with this thing?
I don't know. Is that much?
If you want to use VO3. Right?
Oh, okay.
I don't know if they call it VEO3 or VO3, but that's what it is.
Okay.
But if you're able to do that stuff on the 3rd version, what does the 5th version look like?
Yeah. Well, I mean, this whole, the talk of where we're going with social media, with AI and all that, I mean, that's why I enjoy being removed and being out on these ranches as much as I can, because you almost step into a different time.
Yeah.
Even if, all the young cowboys I know out there, they've got Snapchat, they've got stuff on their phone, but for the most part,
They're on their horse just like...
no, they're not doing that. They're not that
What would
cheesy.
happen if they did?
They get yelled at
Okay.
real fast because you're there to work. You know, you're dealing with livestock, you're dealing with animals. But if it's after and they're like at the ranch in the bunkhouse, you know they're Snapchatting some girl or 5 girls that they're talking to, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But it's just that funny world where it's that almost escape back to our roots, back to in touch with the land that I enjoy because it allows me to slow down, appreciate it, document it, put it out there for others to enjoy. Because my goal is, you know, I may have learned how to ride a horse and work cattle and like I'll never be a cowboy because I don't do it full time. And that title belongs to those who do it. I might have learned how to cowboy, might have learned how to keep up, but my biggest thing is I'm a photographer and my job is to document that lifestyle and share it with the rest of the world, that hopefully it motivates people that maybe didn't grow up in it like I didn't, to say, hey, you know what? Maybe I'm sick of a desk job. Maybe I want to get out there and feed America and preserve land and be there with, you know, your neighbors and tend to livestock. And I think that that's, to me, when I look at it, photography is kind of one of those things where you're pushing a button, even if you're shooting film or you're shooting digital. I don't know if there's really much talent in it. You know, you might have a good eye. Maybe you can teach somebody to have an eye. But the important thing is that a photo can elicit emotions and a photo can inspire. And so I guess that's what I try and do with my work, is to try and capture less of the pretty Western stuff. You know, I think that this industry, and when I say industry, is like the Western and cowboy community, is that it becomes romanticized a little bit. And it becomes like everybody wants to be it, or everybody's going out buying boots and hats and they want to like kind of maybe play the dress up part. And I've always kind of argued against that, where boots and a hat is just a tool. You know, everybody can wear it. There's no gatekeeping with that, but it's just respect the culture that it comes from.
Yeah.
And I think that at the end of the day, we just have to acknowledge that that kind of work is so different than what you see on social media. Because there's a lot of even other photographers that I see that maybe are getting into it that maybe capture it wrong. You know, like there's etiquette with photographing a horse, and most won't believe it, but their body language will tell you everything. You know, if a horse's ears are back, you know, it's uncomfortable, it's not happy in the position it's in. And a lot of photographers will photograph horses' ears back. You know, maybe a cowboy is readjusting the reins in that moment. And so when that goes out there, it just looks kind of bad. And so there's a lot of like just steps to it that I think it takes to understanding it before you want to go out and photograph it just because it's trendy. It's like probably same with veterans. You want to sit down and get to know them and understand their lifestyle before you're going to be documenting it, because you can probably portray them the wrong way. Not intentionally, but
yeah. Looking backwards now, especially given the type of photography that you're doing, how wild was the fashion photography?
You know, it was a fun part of my life. I can't knock it completely because I did it for a decade, and I had to unfortunately work up in LA and go to New York and do that whole lifestyle. The downside to it was I was becoming a man that I wasn't raised to be. I grew up with a traditional family, mom and dad still together, and I was thrown in from living in kind of a poor desert town in California where there's really nothing going on out there, to living in Laguna Beach, one of the most expensive cities. And then you're driving up to LA and you're working in an industry where you're working with nothing but beautiful people, men and women. And you realize that your life becomes that. And so you're going to all these events to try and show face, and you're trying to work with the biggest brands, the biggest models and all that. And your life kind of just becomes very shallow. And so there was a part of me that was like setting my standards of women like at an all-time high. And I realized I was just becoming kind of this shell of who I used to be, and was losing friends and family and relationships over it, to where one day, I think that's what helped motivate the move for me to leave California. Like one day I just decided to like quit doing fashion. I was like, I don't want to be this person anymore. There's a bigger calling. There's something else that I want to photograph that tells more stories of everyday people. And it's not to knock that industry whatsoever. There's a purpose for being a fashion photographer or doing that type of work or celebrity stuff. But I just knew the lifestyle that I was kind of sucked into. And I realized that like, I want to photograph everyday people. I want to do something that's going to be bigger than myself. And I think that that's when I started photographing cowboys, because I got invited to come out to a ranch. And it was one of those like guest ranches, you know, like a dude ranch that you have in here in Montana or something, where you get away for a weekend. And, you know, I thought that that was like the cowboy type stuff, you know, and then I met some of those older cowboys that maybe had a cowboy job back in the day, and they just retired and then went to work on a dude ranch to just make some money in their 60s and whatnot. And they were telling me, they're like, you need to go out to an actual like cow-calf operation and see what real cowboys look like, you know, miles and miles after the blacktop ends and the barbed wire begins. And it came to this point where I slowly worked my way up to some of these bigger ranches, you know, like a King Ranch or 4.6s, or, you know, the ROs in Arizona, Bell Ranch in New Mexico. All these big places took years of building relationships and negotiating. Hey, I want to come out. Here's my work. And then them allowing me, to like ride their horses, which are very expensive animals. Yep. And now it's, you know, I've gotten blessed with the opportunity where, you know, as a matter of fact, in a week I have to go to the Parker Ranch in Hawaii. It's the biggest ranch in Hawaii. It's on the Big Island. It's one of the ranches that'll be in my next book. But, you know, just to get to travel around, and then you get to know these people. You know, there's plenty of cowboys that I've gone to their weddings. I've babysat their kids. You just build this connection and this awesome community of people where, I don't want to throw shade or knock the rest of the community of people that are maybe trying to get into and photograph it, but I think that there's a proper way of doing things, and I just hope that people want to photograph it because, like I said, they want to share a story bigger than themselves, and they want to honor that culture rather than doing it based on likes and clicks because it's trending or it's popular right now.
How'd you get into photography in the first place?
You know, it's funny enough, my dad was a photographer back in the day. I didn't learn it from him, but I think subconsciously, my grandmother who passed away was a big world traveler, went to like Egypt, Asia, went all over the place. So she got me into traveling, and my family and I, when I was 16, so 18 years ago, we went to Hawaii, and we went to the island of Kauai. Mm-hmm. And I remember, I think they got me a little camera, like a little cheap one for Christmas. And we went there, and I remember just like leaving, like ditching my family and just like taking photos of like the sunsets, palm trees, waterfalls, all that pretty landscape stuff. But I fell in love with like going home and looking at the photos like on an old computer or whatnot back then. And I think from there, I was going through this phase of my life where I was like, oh, I like doing photography, but I want to be a tattoo artist. So then I worked at a tattoo shop for 2 years. And then from there I was like, maybe I'll go into the Marine Corps, or I'll become a cop. I was just like a lost guy that was bouncing around trying to figure out my purpose and what I wanted to do. And then I think around the age like 19, 20 is when I really like bought an actual like DSLR digital camera, really got serious with it. And funny enough, out of high school, I think I graduated like a 1.4 GPA.
Strong.
Yeah. Like best score you can get.
Yep.
And
elite, if you will.
Yes. So much so that I failed one of my finals and had to go to summer school my senior year. Couldn't walk, had to get my diploma mailed. So family missed out on that opportunity. Again, like Ivy League student. Then decided, I know I'm not dumb. I just didn't apply myself and I don't care. But there's this art school in LA that I want to go to. And I want to go in as a film director and like minor in photography. Like I wanted to make movies and do all that. And it came to the point where I was 4 months in and I was spending like thousands of dollars to like learn how to open Photoshop. And I was like, well, I've taught myself how to do this. Like, why am I spending all this money and I'm going to be $150,000 in debt after 2.5 years of this school? And so I quit. I remember I drove home to the desert, and my parents were like, oh, are you like in between semesters? And I was like, no, I left school. And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, I quit. I don't want to be there. And my dad was so pissed. He was like, we put our credit on the line for you. Your mom's credit is on there. You already owe $25,000. You've only been 4 months in. Like, you need to go back to school. And I was like, look, I don't want to be that kid. I'll find a way to make it up to you guys. I'll find a way to make it work. I'm not going back to school. I was like, I got a 4.0 when I left. I just needed to do that to convince myself I wasn't dumb. So I think my parents already had a doubt. and understandably so, in like the art world and being a photographer and how hard it is to make it. And I was just like, I'm going to find a way. And so from there, I moved in with them for about 4 months. And then I started dating a girl in Laguna Beach, and that's what made me move. And then I kind of just slowly worked up to photographing fashion in LA.
So not traditionally trained. Not that I'm aware
No.
of a. I'm sure there's schools that teach
Definitely
photography for sure.
Yeah, and I think that the reality is that I'm kind of an advocate for anything art. Don't go to school.
Really?
Yeah, and I know that some people that might have degrees in it will disagree, but I think that it can teach you the fundamentals. But what teaches you is life experience. I've seen plenty of photographers, maybe even like myself, that didn't have any formal training or any education. They just networked and they busted their ass and they got really good at taking photos or creating movies. And now they're at like the all-time high.
Yeah.
It's how hard you want to work and how much do you want to network and connect that's going to get you there. And I think that's the reality, is just life experience, where if you're going to become a doctor or a lawyer, yeah, you got to go to school.
Yeah. If we're going to go back to the drill to the head.
You got to go to school for that.
Well,
I mean, you and I can try. We
do
can go
you
grab
have
somebody.
to go to school for that? I think to get insurance, yes.
Yes, totally. To have your practice, whatever. But
I mean, technically, we could go to Home Depot and give it a whirl. But
could.
yeah, that's not advertised or not advocated. So I know you shoot on film.
yes.
If you were a digital guy, what would be your dream camera?
Ooh,
Probably a controversial question.
it's hard to say.
It's
'Cause
not like there's only one brand out there. It is.
well, it's funny because
minefield.
I don't keep track of them all. Like, because I've shot film, I haven't really like stayed up to date with what's the newest thing. So I'll say a camera, and maybe people listening will be like, "That's so old." But I would probably go with maybe like probably a medium format digital, like a Hasselblad or.
Those are not cheap.
No, they're not cheap. No, but if you want, I guess, like the quality and detail. Or I was like, when I was doing digital, I was a Canon guy.
Yeah.
Which people obviously will not. There's plenty of Sony and Nikon and all that. And I think
Yeah.
Sony kind of took a lead for a while.
Who knows?
I don't know, but I know they were doing really good with like video stuff and all that. So that's why I said I think I would probably do medium format, and it would probably either be, Hasselblad. Those phase ones are nice. Those are expensive. Because those are the only things that I've seen that I'm like, oh, those are kind of cool. But the reality is that I love digital for its purposes, but when you're a digital photographer, you kind of become like a pixel peeper. Have you ever heard that term?
No.
Where you're just like obsessing over
love it,
like
though.
you're like obsessing over like the resolution of like
yeah.
how many megapixels. Like, oh, this camera has 100 megapixels. When you start to lose like the art that it is. And I think that for me personally, I did digital for about 3 or 4 years. And then for 6 years, I did film and kind of made my name doing more of the film campaign stuff for companies. And it allowed me to slow down. It allowed me to retrain my brain to think, I only have 10 photos on this roll of film. So I need to be preemptive with how I'm capturing this photo. I need to pay attention to lighting, to the subject, and then it becomes an art. And not to say that shooting digital isn't. It's just, I think all of us, we get so used to just like clicking thousands of photos and bursting, and then we go back and look and we say, yep, we got it. There's no sense of, did you get it anymore? Like, you got the shot.
Yeah.
For me, there's so many times I go home, I didn't get the shot. And I spent thousands of dollars going out to that ranch, and I thought that one moment was going to be such a cool photo, and I didn't get it. So now I'm going to go back out. And it's just become this thing where I enjoy the idea of like an early Christmas where you send in your film and a week later you get it back and you get to dive back into those memories again and see things that maybe you hoped you got that you didn't, and see things that you were like, meh, it was probably a bland moment, but you're like, oh, the detail and those spurs with the muddle over them. And I love that shot. And then it becomes an artwork.
Yeah.
And people buy it and they put it in their homes. And then I personally realized that I'm like, that was a cowboy that I was creating a really cool relationship with that is now in some home in Europe or is in a home in like New York or somewhere where you're like, that's so cool to think that I was out there on these ranches, photographing these people, telling their story, and somebody found it so interesting enough that they're putting it in their home to enjoy every day and tell that story. And I think that that's what kind of makes this whole thing worth it and keeps the message of the cowboy in my mind somewhat alive, is that if we live in a digital age, unfortunately, that's how we preserve history, is we have to document it. And I don't want to just be a photographer that takes photos that live on a screen. I want to blow them up and put them in museums and have them become archival, where when I'm long gone, maybe they're somewhere still out there existing. I don't know.
How do most people fuck up their photographs? Because I don't know if you know this, we're all expert photographers with our phones.
With our phones?
Just like you said.
And
Hopefully.
it's funny because, like, you know, my wife and her friends and everybody else that, you know, they know I'm a photographer. They're like, oh, give Beau the iPhone. I suck at iPhone photos. Like, I see girls that know how to get like the right angle of selfies, and I'm like just butchering it. But I think in regards to like what do you mean? Like, how do people mess up their photos?
Well, I think probably the answer you would likely give as a professional is they just don't put any thought into the photo that they're taking. They're just trying to capture something.
Okay, I see where you're going with it. Yeah.
Because your average person is going to whip out an iPhone, like you said. They'll go vertical for the gram. What's portrait mode for the other one? What is it, Michael? Portrait? Vertical and portrait?
Landscape and
portrait. Yeah.
Of course, the fucking young guy knows.
Yeah, and I'm the kind of guy that, man, you kind of have to play with the rules with like the portrait reel type thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like such a landscape guy. I'm portrait as far as photos I take of people all day long as portrait. But like, if I could create reels in a landscape format and it would do just as well, I would. The reality is, it's just, I don't know, Instagram has its algorithm. But I think photographers mess up. I think they just rush it. I think they rush things. They don't take their time.
Well, what do you look? I mean, are you looking for symmetry? Are you looking for something? Where do you start when you're looking for a photo?
Kind of train your eye into taking that.
I mean,
image.
obviously there is like the rule of thirds, which people can just Google that.
Yeah.
But you know, lighting kind of matters.
Yeah.
You know, the subject itself. I just feel like a lot of people, especially given a terabyte hard drive on an iPhone, and I don't even know how big the pictures are, but I know you can have thousands in there of what you take, and I'm sure most people, as they scroll back through their phone, are like, I could probably get rid of almost all of these.
Yeah. Here's what I will say. I think
tips for the moron on the street with an iPhone. This could be a book. That would be a good
iPhone
time.
or even just a regular camera. I think a lot of people get scared to get close to their subject, especially when it's people. We're so used to like stepping way back and kind of photographing things from a distance, where when you really get close to your subject, almost to a point of uncomfortability, like you're so close, you're kind of looking to their soul. Like you're really capturing the essence of like the details in their eyes, their lips, their facial expressions. I thoroughly enjoy capturing details. Like, you know, whether it's if I'm out there on a ranch and we just got done, you know, castrating, you know, and the cowboy's got bloody hands from cutting all day, and getting the detail of like the dirt and the blood in his hands and the calluses and cuts all over as he's sharpening his knife. That stuff to me tells so much more of a bigger story than getting just a cowboy on horseback running on the horizon with the sunset behind him.
Both of those are dope photos.
They're dope photos.
Yeah.
But I think most people would lean on, like I said before, romancing the West and kind of capturing those like iconic Marlboro Man kind of shots, rather than capturing like the mundane details that actually tell what this lifestyle is about. And so for me, just whether you're a photographer in the cowboy world or not, you're just taking photos on your phone. I think it's allowing yourself to get closer and get comfortable with photographing people. And lighting has a big thing to do with it. You know, it's like sometimes if you're photographing people, the sun's like right on their face. You just get these shadows underneath their eyes, and it makes all of us look unflattering. And it's like, if it's a harsh day, put the sun at their back and get that backlit kind of situation. But again, it's one of those conversations where I can give tips, and some people are like, well, I purposely take photos like that because of this. And it's kind of in the eye of the beholder. You know, everybody can be their own artist and create some beautiful things. Even if I say, this is how I do it, somebody would do it differently and probably come out with even better results.
What's your bucket list photography trip? You got anywhere that's just before you die, you want to go there and photograph? Person, place, or thing?
I think because obviously we're talking about like honeymoon, like New Zealand would be really cool.
It's amazing.
I think it'd be awesome to go there and photograph stuff. You know, now that I've been kind of photographing cowboys for 8 years, coming up on a decade here soon, once I get this book done, there's a part of me that wants to travel around the world and photograph cowboys from different cultures.
That'd be amazing.
So I think that's a big dream bucket list. You know, cowboys of Argentina, the gauchos, vaqueros in Mexico. I've already started going on to Mexico and photographing them. You know, going to Australia, that'd be incredible. go like out in the bush and the outback and
amazing country.
Yeah. So I guess that's just those types of things. And you know, I recently met some people that they go to Africa and they photograph like the tribes and the people down there. And it's always been one of those things where I've never had like a strong interest in it. Mm-hmm. Like I'm kind of like, okay, it's kind of like the National Geographic stuff, or it's more photojournalism. But there's a part of me outside of photographing cowboys that I do find interest as a photographer of other things, like war-torn countries, something devastating just happened, or natural disasters, and photographing those dark and sad photos that tell a big story.
Yeah.
And there's a part of me that, like, if I could take those film cameras and go photograph like tribes in Africa, I bet I get some cool photos.
Yeah, make sure
like
that
black
they don't
and white portraits and just really cool, like gritty type
make
stuff.
sure they don't believe that you're taking a piece of their soul.
Very true.
Because they'll eat you.
Yeah. You know, that's
I'm not sure that what I just said is actually true, but you should double check.
It is true. It's also true with a lot of Native American nations.
Yeah.
I don't know about current day. I think a lot of people are a little bit more used to it, but I know there's still some nations that lean against having their photo taken for that reason. And so I know that there's some places in Africa that probably still feel that way as well. But I know there's some places that are pretty used to having us gringos go down there and
Africa
take their photo.
Vast continent.
Yeah.
For sure.
But like if you think of Mozambique, Kenya, all those places, they're so used to it.
Yeah.
People coming
Kenya's
in.
cool. I've been there. I spent about
Have
10
you?
days there. Yeah. It's, again, you want to talk about appreciation. I
Yeah.
watched a woman walk into what they called a medical clinic. And I'm going to throw some huge air quotes on that medical clinic. Gave birth and wheelbarrowed home her baby the same day.
No kidding.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Like things like that, if you could photograph that,
yeah,
that's some powerful images right there.
Yeah, or the women, what you see on National Geographic, it's the women's job to go find water. They put it on their head, walked with them to their water source, and you're looking at it like, I wouldn't let my pet drink this water. And that's their job. That's their water source for the day. I mean, you want to talk about appreciation.
Yeah, that's going back to what I was saying. I mean, if you have clean water, a house, I don't care if you're renting or you own a home, just like a roof over your head.
Yeah.
Like we have a lot more, we're a lot luckier than most places. I'll say that.
Do you have a favorite photo out of all the ones you've taken?
I don't.
Do you have a least favorite photo?
Do I? I'm trying to think if I do. Not that I can think off the top of my head. I don't have a favorite because I think it's one of those things where every one of them that I take, and whether I post it online or maybe it becomes an artwork for a gallery, and maybe some people ask me that question, it has its own story. So for me, they're all great stories. They all have different memories. They all serve their purpose differently. So there's not one that really like stands out. But I think there's some that I've taken where, and it's rare, but there's some that I've taken where I've gone home and been like, oh, that shot came out, and like been in love with it. And I say it's rare is because I'm probably just a very big critic of my work.
Yeah, perfectionist, I bet.
Perfectionist, and that's a sin in its own where it's like I go home and I know most people will look at it that'll enjoy it, and maybe it's worthy of going in a book and it's great, but I think I'm just my own worst enemy where I look at it and I'm like, yeah, I love it, but like, I wish I would have done this a little differently. Or
yeah, the artist is always going to see the flaws.
Yeah.
For sure. Dude, what do you want to close it out with? We've been at it for 2.5 hours.
Has it really been that long?
Yeah.
Wow. Heck yeah.
Yeah, close to it at least.
Okay.
You want to leave people with where they can get and support this book, or where can they support your, I mean, because this is obviously one portal we were looking at.
Yep.
Do you have a portal that shows and highlights your other work?
Yeah. So, I mean, right now, my full time is, being a fine artist. So that's what makes my money. So I have galleries. I've got a gallery called House of Swells that does some great work in Los Angeles. They produce like affordable prints for just entry-level collectors that are looking to just put some art on their walls. And I've got all the way up to galleries, more in the fine art world, Markowitz Fine Art, Trimper Gallery, a few others. And all that's on my website. So it's just beausimmonsphotography.com.
Let's check it out, Michael.
And that's kind of, you're not going to see all like the cowboy documentary stuff that's on my Instagram. So it's just at Beau Simmons. That's where you're going to see my everyday type stuff that I photograph on ranches. And then more of the fine art stuff is on my website.
I want to close it out with looking at some of your stuff on the website.
But that's been, my bread and butter, and that's what I've been working on. while I'm up here actually right now visiting you is I'm working on.
Go to artwork, man.
I'm going down to Padlock Ranch down on the Montana-Wyoming border, and they'll be one of the ranches in my books.
Oh, that's awesome right there.
Yeah, that photo right there, actually, funny enough, is as simple as it is with like just an old hat on a post. That was my hat. I was taking photos of that tree line, and that's on the backside of the Tetons out in Idaho. And that was about 3 feet of snow. I got frostbite in my left thumb because I was out there for too long with my gloves off taking a photo of that tree line with the fog. And I took my hat off as it was snowing, and I put it on the fence post for about 20 minutes.
Yeah. And
then walked back over about 10 yards and saw that. And I was like, man, that's cool. Like the snow just stuck to the hat. But that's kind of going back
like
to
you're saying, a lot of
the detail.
Close-ups with the detail. I really like it, though.
Just like how worn those chaps are, like they've seen, that leather has seen the sun. It's got blood stains on it.
Yeah.
So when people go online, like I've got 3 different collections that people can go through. I've got like a Western collection. I've got an equestrian collection, which is like polar opposite.
Is
it's
it
like
just all hogs?
No, it's like
that'd be I would buy that book. Just
hog
horse
book?
hogs.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, just dongs. You could get in like this level though. Michael, you would buy that book, right?
I have that book.
Hey, speaking of which, I actually had that recent thought. I was thinking
Of horse dongs.
Yeah, it was a funny conversation. I was like, hey, us guys compare. Like we joke around. We always say we have the tiniest dicks in the world.
Yeah.
I'm like, do animals compare? Do you think women like female animals look at male animals and are like, no?
We were out at a ranch not too long ago. I was there with my daughter, and there was a horse walking around, fully displayed. It was almost touching the ground.
Yeah.
He was the alpha. That could be a banger of a book.
Right? Just
Yeah.
horse dongs.
Yeah. Call it horse hogs.
This is going to be the quote that I get the most from this show. Is people are gonna be like, you're thinking of animal dicks? And I'm like, no. Like, it's just a
I'm not
funny
saying I'm
thought
not
of like,
thinking of animal dicks, but sometimes you can think about it.
you got to think of real life conversations where you're like, yeah, do female animals judge male animals based on? Probably not.
I feel like they do. We have to agree to disagree on
Probably
that
so.
one. Yeah.
I mean, humans do it.
Yep.
But
God, I
anyway,
love that
so
detail.
it's yeah, you've got kind of Western stuff. You've got equestrian stuff like show jumping. And then we've got a series called like Americana Collection, which is more like, I'm staging cowboys in like 1970s type period stuff where you've got old trucks and you're almost building like little sets. But
Keep on going, Michael.
yeah, so this is kind of more like the equestrian stuff here. But when you go through it and you look at like the Americana Collection, there's some cool stuff in there.
God, horses are so cool.
That was kind of I won't say once in a lifetime shot, but like on film, you've got the mare on the right, so the female horse, and then the gelding is the left horse. So that mare we brought out first. We set up a white backdrop, and we brought the gelding out, and they didn't really want to be near each other. Like he was kind of just keeping his distance, keeping his head down, feeding, and we kind of brought him closer. They kind of like wouldn't hold still. They kept moving their heads. And I was about to give up. And I was like, I don't think these two are going to connect their heads, because that was the vision that I had for it. And sure enough, like he kind of like smelled her and nuzzled her. And when he put his head down, I took one shot on film. And even like the sound of those film cameras, when that shutter comes down, you can hear it.
Yeah.
It almost makes horses kind of like step back. And sure enough, he did pull away, but I got that one shot. And I guess that's an example of what I was talking about, where when I got the film back from the lab and we darkroom printed it and blew it up, I was just amazed at the detail in it and how I was able to get their heads so symmetrical. But it's hard to get that with film. I mean, there's so many mistakes that I make that I'm more burned by from the successes that I actually have.
Yeah, I really like the detail, man.
Yeah. But just different stuff. And, a lot of my stuff is the details. And then you've got the bigger, grander scenes. Like when you go to, Michael, if you go back up to the artworks and go to Americana Collection, you'll see like a big difference in these, where you've got kind of more of a set. You're kind of building more of like a memory of what might have been a 70s, 80s, 90s kind of era. But yeah, so that's kind of my focus right now is growing the
Powerful
galleries.
stash on the man on the left.
Right? That thing was huge. I think it was past his bottom lip. I had mine pretty close to that. And my wife didn't want to kiss me anymore. She's like, all right, you need to shave it.
Fair enough.
That's actually my wife right there on the left,
That's
leaning up
awesome.
against the car. So every once in a while, I'll kind of do a little Easter egg and put her in some of my work. But
You know what's
that's
sad?
that's here in Montana. That's in Livingston.
You know what's sad is that your children will never know what a phone booth is.
That's true. A lot of my,
Or a
it's even-
payphone.
what's even sadder? I just had this conversation that all of us can remember where we were on 9/11.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's people that will never know that feeling.
Yeah.
But again, going back, phone booths are awesome.
Or payphones. Yeah, phone booths are great, especially for the visual. I like it. Washing the horse in the car wash. Why would you not?
They're in Texas. And funny enough, like most people are like, why would you do that? That's like an everyday thing.
Yeah.
I see cowboys that sometimes
why
ride
would
up
you
to these
not
things.
do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, use their tools, not yours.
That's in Fort Worth.
Cows with horns like that really scare the shit out of me.
Mm-hmm. What have you thought? I'm curious. I know we're trying to wrap it up, but I'm just curious kind of your thoughts from the outside of it all, of like kind of the Yellowstone effect of what you've seen that have come from that show. Because I think
I think the cat was out of the bag a long time ago.
Yeah.
What I would caution people against is visiting Montana while wearing a Dutton Ranch t-shirt.
I would agree.
Which I have personally seen.
Probably too many times.
Yeah. Do what you want, everyone. Live your life. If you want to get your car keyed, wear that shirt.
Yep.
Support.
Yeah.
Here, I mean, Montana has, at the most recent census that I can find, 1,060,000 people in the state.
Okay.
And a state, you know how big it is. It's
Yeah.
vast. Now, is all of it like we were talking here on the way over? The western side of it, more as it wraps around a little bit, is the Rocky Mountains where all the postcards are taken.
Yep.
Out east, it's really flat.
Farming, agriculture, and ranching.
Yes. And if you're not into that, you're probably not going to go out there. But there is still so much room for everybody. And it's an interesting conundrum that people find themselves in. They'll say, we hate new people coming into town, but the restaurant scene here sucks. Like, well, guess what? The more people that come, that's going to solve itself.
There's a balance to it.
There is a balance. I hate people coming into town. I'm really glad we have a Costco.
Yeah.
You know? So I understand people think that Montana is going to change from the Montana that they knew.
Just its roots.
But welcome to the world. That's what's going to happen given enough time, and anywhere that has this. I think, as an example, Kalispell and whitefish. And for people not familiar, whitefish is actually more recognizable to people I meet traveling than Kalispell.
I would say so, yeah.
And I actually don't know why that is. It's probably
on the border of Glacier and the ski resorts.
The ski resort would be my guess. They usually have heard of whitefish, Missoula, and Bozeman.
Yep.
Almost nobody has heard of Billings.
There's kind of a reason for that.
Yeah. Which is, by the way, the largest city in Montana. Mm-hmm. Those places they're awesome, and they make their money, specifically whitefish and Kalispell, in summer, with populations that come in and they visit. The money is made, except for whitefish has a booming ski season. For like Kalispell, though, we will have 2 million people that pass through Kalispell on the way to GNP. No business owner can tell you that doesn't have an impact.
Yeah,
it's how they weather the slower months in the winter when it's just the holding population of the city. They make, what's the saying? Make your hay when the sun's shining, or cut it, or whatever it is.
That's how you avoid it becoming a ghost town.
Yes, and so Montana is going to have a balance of growth and people wanting to come here and holding on to the aspect and essence of it that people hold dear. I totally get it for the people who are 6th or 7th generation Montanans, and it's so funny to listen to locals or people who are from here. For some people, if you've been here for 10 years, you're a Montanan. For others, if you're not 4th generation, you're not shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay.
I can relate to that, though, in a sense, and I'll bring it around to two similar things. I mean, the town I grew up in, in the high desert, it was very small in the 90s and now has become big because of the influx of people from LA, especially during COVID, that were coming and buying second homes and Airbnb-ing them. And now you have in the town of Joshua Tree, Yucca Valley, Pioneer Town, random 5-star restaurants popping up. We were like, what? And my mom and dad even love it and hate it. Yep. I think everybody does. Where on one hand,
and that's the balance. You love the food there, but you hate that people have found out your secret. Exactly. That's essentially what it is.
And that's the same argument that I'll say that happened with the Yellowstone and Taylor Sheridan effect. And I've met Taylor, him and I have done, kind of, I guess, 2 ships in the night in a sense where I know he's busy. We don't communicate whatsoever. It's more so that he's supported my work in some degree where, we both have signed artworks and given them to charity, done some things together. He's allowed me to, come out to the 6s. The show Landman, my work has been on that for 2 seasons now, or it's going to be on the 2nd season coming up. So I'm appreciative of that. But the Western community would argue that they love and hate the Yellowstone effect. And the reason being is the same thing. They don't like that people from maybe the cities are coming in and maybe in their terms playing dress up. And I can totally agree. But on one hand, the cattle industry is at an all-time high. Beef is the most it's ever been. Same with horses. I used to be able to buy a decent horse for $5,000, and now it's more like 15, 20 grand. So on one hand, it's like they hate it, but it still has a positive effect on their lifestyle. It's that weird toss-up. You're never going to please everybody, but
learn to deal with it.
Yeah. But anyways, I just appreciate, you having me on.
Yeah, of course.
It's been great talking and kind of
pleasure.
sharing, and hopefully I have done good by the veteran community, the cowboy community. I think my goal is, my story is not so much important. It's the stories of the people that I've met that I'd like to be able to share on outlets and get it out there.
Now I'm going to buy one of your prints, put it up in the studio.
No, I appreciate it.
From the Dong collection.
We're gonna make it happen.
I think
Michael wants that one.
Well, I think if it goes above the flag, oriented down towards him, he'd feel the most at home.
We could.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Let's make it happen.
He knows. Right on, man. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.